Before diving into Season 2, let's roll it back and talk about what went down in Season 1. Years ago, these weird portals started showing up all over the world. They weren't normal, they connected our world to dungeons crawling with deadly monsters. Humanity was caught off guard. Some folks woke up with special abilities. These people, called hunters, became the only line of defense against the chaos. That's where Jin Woo comes in. He's an E-rank hunter, the lowest of the low. Nobody expects much from him because his powers are trash. He can't get stronger, no matter how hard he tries. He's out here hustling, taking dangerous jobs to take care of his sick mom and younger sister. Life's rough, but Jin Woo doesn't back down. Everything changes when he ends up in a raid inside a double dungeon. This place wasn't on the level of what his team signed up for. Most of them don't make it out alive. Jin Woo survives, but he comes out with something nobody's seen before. He gets a power that lets him grow stronger every time he fights. It's as if he's in a game where he can level up. Suddenly, the weakest hunter starts climbing the ranks. He takes on tougher dungeons, crazier monsters, and keeps getting stronger every step of the way. Jin Woo doesn't just survive, he turns into someone you don't mess with. His true power lies in controlling the souls of those he defeats, adding them to his unstoppable shadow army. That's how Season 1 sets the stage. Now it's time to see where Jin Woo's story goes in Season 2. The story picks up with Jin Woo still in bed. Then his phone rings. It turns out to be his sister Jinna. Hearing his voice, she immediately knows he's just woken up and asks if he even knows what time it is. He checks the clock and realizes it's already 2 in the afternoon. Jinna reminds him about her parent-teacher meeting that's happening today. The scene shifts to the meeting, where Jin Woo shows up looking sharp. Jinna is surprised by how polished he looks and asks if something's off. He explains he couldn't show up in sportswear to meet her teacher, so he had to wear something decent. Jinna remarks on how much people can change, and as they walk through the school hallway, Jin Woo catches the attention of several girls, but he stays composed, making the girls wonder who he is. Jinna, noticing the attention he's getting, reminds him that he still doesn't have a girlfriend and offers to introduce him to someone, but Jin Woo isn't interested and brushes it off. Later, Jin Woo sits down with Jinna's teacher, who praises her as a role model for other students. The teacher mentions her good grades and strong performance on mock exams, expressing confidence that Jinna will get into medical college. She hopes Jin Woo won't pressure her too much, and he reassures her that he understands. Before ending the meeting, the teacher asks Jin Woo if he'd ever let Jinna become a hunter if she awakened. Jin Woo firmly says no. The teacher anticipated this answer, so she asked Jin Woo for a favor. The scene shifts again to Jin Woo meeting Song Yi, who is surprised to see him. He reveals that he's Jinna's brother, and Song Yi guesses that the teacher must have asked him to convince her to quit being a hunter. Song Yi refuses to give up hunting and go back to school. Jin Woo tells her she won't be able to make enough money as an E-rank hunter. While she made good money working with his assault team, that was an exception. She cuts him off, telling him to leave if he's just going to lecture her. She points out that Jin Woo is also an E-rank hunter, but Jin Woo clarifies that he's not here to persuade her to quit. Instead, he asks her to follow him. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Jin Chul welcoming Hwang Dong-soo to Japan. Dong-soo is surprised to see the head of the Hunter Association himself waiting for him. Jin Chul doesn't waste time and asks how long Dong-soo plans to stay. Dong-soo reassures him it won't be long. Jin Chul, clearly skeptical, remarks that Dong-soo came back to the country he betrayed just to meet 2 specific people. Dong-soo corrects him, making it clear that he didn't return for them. Dong-soo tells Jin Chul that the surveillance team should turn a blind eye to whatever he does to Jin Woo and Jin Hoo inside the dungeon. He makes it clear that his first target is Jin Woo, followed by Jin Hoo. Dong-soo is confident Jin Chul won't be able to stop him, mocking his abilities, but Jin Chul, staying composed, reminds him that he's simply doing his job. Elsewhere, a monster is being unloaded from the helicopter that Guild Master Choi and his team used to reach Jeju Island. While Choi explains the situation to the Hunter Association chairman, he mentions that the monsters tried crossing the sea to the mainland, but their flight couldn't last long, and they ended up falling into the ocean. Choi warns that if left unchecked, they might eventually make it across. Gun-hee promises to do whatever it takes to stop that from happening. The scene shifts to Jin Woo meeting up with Sang-min. Sang-min is surprised to get a call from him, especially since Jin Woo rarely reaches out. He also notices that Song Yi is with Jin Woo. Jin Woo apologizes for the sudden request, but Sang-min brushes it off, saying it's no big deal. Sang-min is surprised when Jin Woo asks to observe their training. He explains that the gate they're working with is a level C, which recently appeared. Their conversation is interrupted by a loud, impatient man demanding that they start the raid. He grumbles about wasting time, saying they're not here for a picnic. Jin-woo looks at him curiously, and Sang-min introduces him as Kim Chul, a rank hunter who works as a tanker. Kim Chul is visibly annoyed, complaining about letting low ranks watch his raid. Sang-min explains to Jin-woo that this assault team is made up of 1 rank A, 5 rank B, and 2 rank C hunters. Including Jin-woo and Song-yi, there are 10 people in total. Jin-woo isn't thrilled about the group size. He brought Song-yi along to show her how tough dungeon raids can be, but it feels like this many people might water things down. Sang-min's assistant tells Jin-woo to stay on the sidelines and let the newer hunters take the lead. Jin-woo agrees and keeps his distance. The group enters the gate, but Jin-woo immediately senses something off. The gate behind them starts acting strange, shifting and turning red. Realizing what's happening, Jin-woo tries to escape, managing to squeeze his head out just enough to warn Sang-min to contact the assault team. Before he can get fully out, the gate pulls him back inside. Sang-min quickly contacts Yoon-ho, letting him know about the unexpected appearance of a red gate. Without hesitation, Yoon-ho heads their way. Meanwhile, inside the gate, Jin-woo and the team wake up in the middle of a vast snowfield. Everyone is stunned to realize the gate has disappeared, leaving them wondering how they're supposed to get out. Kim Chul steps up, explaining that this is a red gate. Song-yi, confused, asks what that means. Jin-woo breaks it down for her, explaining that unlike regular gates, red gates cut off all contact with the outside world. The only way out is to defeat the dungeon boss or wait for the dungeon to collapse. He adds that the outside world can't interfere, and the dungeon is filled with dangerous magic beasts. And suddenly, arrows rain down on them. One of their teammates is killed instantly, but Jin-woo reacts in time to catch an arrow aimed at Song-yi, saving her. The rest of the team notices and realizes they're surrounded by ice elves. Jin-woo sees that the elves are far away, which explains why he didn't sense them earlier. He also notices they specifically targeted the 2 weakest members of the group. He reflects that if this had happened 2 months ago, he would have been dead. The ice elves retreat for now, and Song-yi looks confused. Jin-woo explains that ice elves are brutal predators, often referred to by hunters as ice slayers. Kim Chul takes control, addressing the group. He reminds them that no help is coming and says if they want to survive, they'll have to follow his lead. He announces that the group will split into 2 teams, claiming it's the best way to ensure more of them make it out alive. He warns that staying in this freezing environment is a death sentence and offers survival to anyone who joins his group. Most of the group agrees to follow Kim Chul, but he quickly singles out the weaker members, telling them they can't come. Then he explains that 1 day inside the dungeon is equal to an hour outside, and it could take months to defeat the boss or wait for the dungeon to collapse. Kim Chul bluntly says he won't carry dead weight, promising to come back for the weaker ones after the boss is taken down. One of the girls in the group decides she'd rather stick with Jin-woo. Kim Chul scoffs at her decision, calling it foolish. But she quietly tells Jin-woo she's certain Kim Chul didn't notice the arrow earlier. Then she whispers that there's no way Jin-woo is just an E-rank hunter. She believes that Jin-woo's not an E-rank and thinks he might even be a rank or higher. Kim Chul announces that his group will take the main road, so Jin-woo offers to lead his team into the forest instead. After some time, Kim Chul's group notices deep claw marks on the trees. He explains that they have entered ice bear territory and predicts that the E-ranks in Jin-woo's group will not survive. Moments later, they sense movement and realize they are surrounded by ice bears. One of the bears charges, but Kim Chul blocks it with his shield and cuts it down with his axe. Without hesitation, he moves to engage the other bears as well. Meanwhile, the girl in Jin-woo's group spots claw marks and stops the team. She warns them that they've entered ice bear territory and urges them to turn back before encountering the beasts. Jin-woo, however, suggests going deeper. He explains that if this is ice bear territory, they'll only have to deal with the bears, which are weaker than the elves. The girl realizes he's right, no other magical beasts would dare come near because of the bear's presence. As they move forward, Jin-woo notices the temperature dropping. He takes coats from his inventory and hands them out to the group. Everyone is shocked to see him using summoning magic. They put on the coats, finding them warm and comfortable. Song-yi asks Jin-woo who he really is, but he brushes off the question, saying his only job is to protect her since he brought her here. He asks her not to push for answers and hopes the others will do the same. Suddenly, an ice bear appears. Jin-woo doesn't hesitate, he changes his title to Wolf Assassin and prepares to fight. Outside the gate, Yoon-ho observes the situation, convinced the red gate is a death trap for anyone but high-ranking hunters. Sang-min informs him that aside from the assault team, another individual entered the gate, Sung Jin-woo. Yoon-ho asks about Jin-woo's rank, and Sang-min says he's officially listed as E rank, but suspects he may have reawakened, though Jin-woo hasn't confirmed this. Yoon-ho doesn't seem optimistic about Jin-woo's chances, but just then, Dong-soo arrives with Jin-chul. Yoon-ho, clearly irritated, asks why Dong-soo is here when he was supposed to be in America. Dong-soo avoids answering, instead questioning why an E-rank hunter was allowed to enter such a dangerous gate, especially when he isn't even part of their guild. Dong-soo clarifies that he's talking about Jin-woo, which makes Yoon-ho curious about how Dong-soo knows him. Dong-soo looks at the red gate in front of him, disappointed. He figures he might not even get to meet Jin-woo, assuming he's going to die inside the gate. Jin-chul, standing nearby, thinks Jin-woo is lucky in a way. At least he doesn't have to face Dong-soo right now. Still, he's unsure if Jin-woo can make it out of the red gate alive. Meanwhile, inside the gate, Jin-woo finishes off the last of the ice bears and levels up in the process. His team, watching from the sidelines, wonders who he really is, but Jin-woo stays quiet. Later, everyone sits around eating bear meat, marveling at how Jin-woo managed to take down all those bears by himself. Then the girl warns them not to let their guard down, reminding them that the monster's lair must be nearby. Song-yi, noticing Jin-woo heading out for exercise after dinner, is surprised, but she can't believe he's training after fighting so many monsters. Then she comments on how strange he is, and the others agree. Elsewhere, Jin-woo stands outside the ice bear's lair. Then he summons his shadow army to test their strength. The shadows attack the bears, cutting them down with ease. Some of the bears manage to tear apart parts of the shadow army, but the shadows regenerate quickly, drawing mana from Jin-woo. The mages in his army provide support, and Jin-woo observes that the shadows are performing better than expected, though they're draining his mana faster than he'd like. But suddenly, the ice bear boss appears and attacks with overwhelming force, wiping out Jin-woo's entire shadow army in a single powerful move. His mana is nearly drained, leaving him unable to summon reinforcements. With no other option, Jin-woo summons Igris. The bear charges at Igris, but he dodges and counters with precision, slicing the bear and forcing it to its knees. The beast makes a final attempt to attack, but Igris beheads it before it can get close. Jin-woo watches in awe, thinking that if Igris had used his sword in their fight, he probably would have lost. Even now, Igris might still be stronger than him. Then he compliments Igris for a job well done. The scene shifts to Kim-chul's party, now in the middle of a fight with elves. Everyone except Kim-chul is dead. He's in shock, and unable to believe how badly things have gone. Kim-chul reflects on how close he was to becoming an elite member of the White Tiger Guild. However, as he watches the elves closing in, along with the last survivor of his party, panic takes over, and he turns to flee. Jin-woo stands tall over the lifeless death bears, flexing his insane necromancer skills when he commands them to rise. Their shadows emerge from the corpses, joining his growing army of shadows. Outside the portal, Sang-min explains that the strike force has been trapped for 3 hours, which translates to about 3 days on the inside. Red gates are no joke, so Dong-soo assumes Jin-woo is already a goner and starts preparing to leave. But then he stops, demanding to know why Jin-woo was hanging around with the White Tiger Guild. Sang-min calmly replies that Jin-woo was just an acquaintance who wanted to check out a C-rank mission. Sang-min feels some relief when Dong-soo seems to accept this answer. But then Dong-soo shocks everyone by getting in Sang-min's face. He's not buying it. Dong-soo knows Sang-min has a knack for spotting fresh talent. Meanwhile, Yoon-ho steps in transformed and serious, telling Dong-soo to chill. That only gets Dong-soo angrier, and he mocks Yoon-ho, calling him a big fish in a small pond. Tensions rise, and the two unleash some of their power, shaking the area. The bystanders are terrified, knowing an S-rank fight could destroy everything around them. Despite the warnings, the two charge at each other anyway. In the same time, inside the portal, Kim-chul is relieved after barely escaping the elves. But his relief doesn't last. He stumbles upon the shredded remains of the powerful death bears. The sight is horrifying, and he can't believe the E-ranks he abandoned could have done this. As fear creeps in, he wonders if the Ice Slayers could be responsible and flees into the forest. Meanwhile, outside the gate, Dong-soo watches in awe as Jin-chul somehow manages to stop the brewing S-rank battle. Jin-chul humbly explains that he's only intact because the two hunters held back at the last moment. Dong-soo stays impressed but skeptical, clearly digging for something deeper. Jin Chul clarifies to Dong Su that he reassessed Jin Woo's rank 2 months ago, and he's confident the kid is just an E rank. To add more fuel, the surveillance team concluded that Dong Su's brother was killed by a magic beast. The place falls into an uneasy silence as Dong Su processes the report, but it's clear the tension isn't going away anytime soon. Dong Su knows the official story is just for show, and he figures if Jin Woo didn't kill his brother, then it must have been you, the rich kid. Jin Chul asks why he's still after Jin Woo, and Dong Su keeps it simple: Jin Woo's an accomplice. Before things can escalate, Dong Su gets called away. As he leaves, he mutters that Jin Woo is lucky. Sang Min watches him go, thinking how nobody really gets Jin Woo's power like he does. Sang Min is confident that Jin Woo will make it out of the Red Gate. Meanwhile, inside the gate, Jin Woo's group is resting by a fire when Kim Chul stumbles across them. He's furious to see them alive and thriving with weather gear, blankets, and food. Kim Chul confronts them, screaming that his team died because they had nothing. He blames them for hoarding supplies, calling them out for his dead teammates. Kim Chul pieces together that Park must have joined their group because she knew they had gear all along. Furious, he demands that whoever is responsible confess, counting down from 3. When nobody steps forward, Kim Chul screams Jin Woo's name, already convinced he's the one. Then he charges at the group, intent on taking them all out. But before he can strike, Jin Woo appears out of nowhere and absolutely crushes him. Everyone is stunned to see their leader back. Jin Woo glares at Kim Chul, disgusted that he's blaming others for his failures, but that wasn't Kim Chul's only mistake. Jin Woo senses even more trouble approaching. Turning to the shadows, Jin Woo calls out to the lurkers, telling them their aura is way too strong to hide. The ice elves, startled, drop their stealth and reveal themselves. Their leader steps forward, surprised to see a human with real strength. The leader tries to provoke Jin Woo, but everyone is stunned when Jin Woo fires back in the language of the magic beasts. Jin Woo himself is surprised, but he figures his cheat system must be helping him out. The elven leader explains why they're there. One of his men sensed Jin Woo's power when he stopped the arrow earlier, so the elves are eager to test him. But before the leader can finish his speech, Jin Woo makes his move. With a single lightning-fast strike, he chops off the head of the first challenger, silencing the wind. The boss is laughing his head off, but Jin Woo isn't smiling. Then he steps right up and swings at the boss, but the boss blocks it without a hitch, and Jin Woo knows this dude won't go down easy. The boss keeps grinning and cracks a joke about Jin Woo not being human, wondering why he's even pretending. Jin Woo doesn't understand what the guy is talking about. The boss starts laughing again, saying Jin Woo clearly doesn't know what's going on. Turns out, elves hear some voice in their heads telling them to take out humans. But when it comes to Jin Woo, we hear nothing because you're not a human. Jin Woo starts putting it together. This could be tied to his system. Maybe the voice ignores him because he's the player. The boss, acting all calm, tells Jin Woo to hand over the humans to avoid trouble. Jin Woo wants answers. Then he asks what their issue with humans is in the first place. The boss starts explaining, but suddenly his body glitches like a bad signal, and he repeats himself without even realizing it. Something isn't right. Jin Woo refuses, so the boss asks if Jin Woo really wants to go against them, warning him they've got the numbers to back it up. Jin Woo doesn't flinch. He summons his shadow army, leaving everyone stunned. The boss thinks it's some kind of trick, but Jin Woo is done talking, ready to throw down, and the boss steps up. The fight explodes, blades clash, arrows fly, and blood spills everywhere. The members of the group try to escape, but the archers lock onto them. Jin Woo jumps in, showing off his incredible skills, and takes them out without hesitation. Still, he starts seeing why the boss feels so confident. These elves hit hard, way harder than expected. Jin Woo's army is immortal, but keeping them up drains magic. He's got a lot of it, but even that won't last forever. On top of that, the boss is stronger than him by a mile. The boss charges straight at Jin Woo. Jin Woo figures out that even if he fights alongside Igris, this guy is still too much to handle and everything is stacked against him. His regular soldiers won't cut it, so Jin Woo knows he needs stronger reinforcements to win this battle. The boss finally gives his name Barca and Jin Woo responds with his own name, ready to go all in. The two warriors rush each other and Barca comes in strong, showing he's got the upper hand. He's feeling good about it, but Jin Woo flips the script, teleporting his blade to the other hand. They dodge each other's strikes by a hair, but in the end Jin Woo gets knocked back. Barca's hyped he hasn't had a fight this good in ages, but Jin Woo isn't done yet. With a sly grin, Jin Woo catches him off guard as a massive meteor comes crashing down on him. Nearby, Kim Chul wakes up, dazed and barely remembering the beating he took. Anger flares up and he grabs his sword, cursing Jin Woo under his breath. Jin Woo's magic soldiers bought him some time, but Barca isn't impressed and comes in swinging again. That's when Jin Woo catches Kim Chul creeping up from behind. Jin Woo already saw this coming, so he has Igris throw down a smokescreen. In the haze, Jin Woo and Igris make their move and end Kim Chul's life. As Kim Chul realizes Jin Woo played him from the start, his shock is written all over his face. With Kim Chul out of the way, Jin Woo commands him to rise, and light bursts from his lifeless body. Barca's still charging, shouting that hiding won't save Jin Woo. His confidence takes a hit when a new soldier steps out and forces him back. Jin Woo introduces his latest recruit, Iron, who roars like a beast ready to throw down. Barca doesn't back down and jumps into the fight, but after a few exchanges, he picks up on Iron's lack of speed. Nearby, Song Yi watches everything go down, wondering if all hunter battles are this insane. The others shake their heads, saying they've never seen anything like this in their lives. Barca eventually decides Iron isn't enough of a challenge and calls Jin Woo and his knight to join the fight. Jin Woo's all for it, and the 3-on-1 showdown kicks off. At the same moment, Barca proves he's no joke, holding his own against all of them, but Iron's constant screaming starts to get under his skin. Then Barca decides Iron's gotta go first, but Iron's built like a fortress. Barca's confidence keeps climbing as he dodges Igris's attacks with ease. That confidence doesn't last long, though Jin Woo lands a hit, stabbing him clean. Even so, Jin Woo can't help but respect Barca's skill, noticing how the elf avoided a killing blow, even with chaos all around him. Barca hates being disrespected, but Jin Woo gives him props for holding out this long. Jin Woo shows some respect, but he's also curious about how his shadow army's doing. That's when Barca realizes something's up, so he looks over at the battlefield and sees his entire clan wiped out. Even with that, Barca doesn't panic. He's sure that if he takes Jin Woo out, the army will crumble. But while he's scheming, Jin Woo throws his dagger. Barca dodges and starts clowning him, calling him a fool for tossing his weapon away. But Barca doesn't know Jin Woo like that. With a flick of his will, Jin Woo calls the dagger right back. Barca barely blocks it, but the move destroys his weapon. That's when Jin Woo sends Iron in to pin Barca down. So with Barca locked up, Jin Woo gives the green light for his magic soldiers to unload a massive fire attack. But Barca's not done yet. He breaks free, slicing through Iron and swearing to wipe out every human. Before he can make good on his threat, Jin Woo shuts him down, telling him the fight's over. Barca's still stubborn, says it's not over until he decides. But too bad for him, Iron regenerates and crushes him for good. Jin Woo lays it out, Barca's done for. At the same time, ground starts shaking, but it's just Iron making sure the job's finished. Jin Woo pulls Iron back, reminding him to keep it in check. He doesn't want this kind of behavior becoming a thing. The group breathes a sigh of relief, happy the fight's over, and Jin Woo, cool as ever, tells them it's time to head out. While they're relieved, Jin Woo's still got business. He takes a moment to look at Barca's lifeless body. Meanwhile, outside, Sang Min mentions that Yoon Ho can go home now. A week has passed inside the portal, and Yoon Ho's been stressing about what might have happened. Even so, he refuses to leave. Then out of nowhere, people start coming out of the portal. Yoon Ho's sure it's Kim Chul since he believed his guild member could handle things. But he's dead wrong. Instead, Sang Min turns out to be the one who's right. Jin Woo steps out, calm and collected, as the gate closes behind him. Yoon Ho, confused and worried, starts asking about Kim Chul. When he finds out the truth that only the low-ranked hunter made it out, he's left wondering what really went down in there. Yoon Ho wants to grill Jin Woo, but Jin Woo's completely drained and tells him to save it for someone in his guild. Yoon Ho's stunned, not believing what he just heard. This wasn't a request or a favor, it was an order, maybe even a threat if Jin Woo didn't comply. Yoon Ho steps up his tone, reminding Jin Woo that 6 of his guild members are missing, and it's his job to find out what went down. Jin Woo doesn't flinch. Instead, he throws it back, pointing out that he's the one who saved the only 2 survivors. That means Yoon Ho owes him some gratitude too. Things get tense, but Yoon Ho backs off, realizing Jin Woo's got a point. He apologizes, and Jin Woo takes Song Yi home. Afterward, Yoon Ho asks Park who Jin Woo is and wonders why he seemed so mad. Park explains that Jin Woo's mood only shifted after beating the boss. Sang Min guesses it's probably exhaustion since Jin Woo's usually pretty chill. Yoon Ho, intrigued by Jin Woo, tells Sang Min to do whatever it takes to bring him into their guild. Later, Jin Woo drops Song Yi off. She thanks him for everything and says she's looking forward to the next time they meet. On his way home, Jin Woo reflects on the day, realizing it hasn't even been 24 hours since they got trapped. He's frustrated that all he got for his trouble was a single dagger and figures Barca must have been too high level. Looking back, Jin-woo remembers trying to make an immortal soldier out of Barca. He had 3 chances to extract him but failed every time. At least he got iron out of the deal, but it weighs on him that this was the 3rd time he had to take human lives. The next day, Yu meets up with Jin-woo, but Jin-woo's thrown off by Yu's outfit. They're heading out on a mission, but Jin-woo tells Yu they need to pick someone up first. That someone ends up being Song-yi, and Yu is shocked by how casual Jin-woo and Song-yi are with each other. Jin-woo checks in with Song-yi, asking if she managed to get any sleep, but Yu takes it the wrong way. Worried, Yu reminds Jin-woo that Song-yi is underage. Jin-woo, completely unbothered, knows there's nothing shady going on, but Yu keeps jumping to the wrong conclusions. Some time later, Yu watches in total amazement as Jin-woo's soldiers take down a pack of powerful beasts like it's nothing. Yu has no clue where these soldiers came from, and Jin-woo realizes he's never explained it. He tells Yu they're part of one of his skills, leaving Yu speechless. He never imagined this kind of insane power was even possible. With the battle over, Jin-woo orders his army to start mining the area for crystals. Yu looks defeated since he knows he can't compete with Jin-woo's army. He asks Jin-woo if he can at least have the essence stones. Jin-woo isn't selfish, so one of his soldiers steps up and offers to share. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a man is standing in the middle of a wrecked ship. A soldier is begging for his life, but the man tells him to calm down. The soldier doesn't understand him though because they don't speak the same language. The man switches to some broken English, explaining that he's human and just wants to go home. Back with Jin-woo, he and Yu are celebrating after wrapping up the 19 raids they agreed on. Yu's next step is to pass the written exam at the association to get his guildmaster's license. Once that's done, he can finally start negotiating with his father. Jin-woo, on the other hand, has plans to travel for a bit. Yu assumes Jin-woo is trying to avoid him, but Jin-woo laughs it off, saying he's just drunk. Yu, feeling rejected, opens up about how he's used to being pushed away. His older brother, who's 10 years older, has never liked him. They never had any kind of brotherly bond. Jin-woo though has done so much to help him. Yu wishes Jin-woo could have been his brother instead. Seeing how much Yu is hurting, Jin-woo tells him that from now on, he'll consider Yu his little brother. Elsewhere, the mysterious man from the ship has been restrained. Investigators are trying to figure out where he came from. He claims to be a foreign hunter who got trapped in a gate 10 years ago and couldn't escape. He says he finally found an exit that brought him to a gate in America. The investigators are suspicious, worried he might be a humanoid magic beast. To be sure, they've called in an S-rank hunter named Dong-soo to do the questioning. For now, all they know about the guy is his name Il-F-Wan-sung. Later, Jin-woo tells his sister he'll be traveling for a week. She comments on how busy he's been lately and asks who he's going with. Annoyed by the question, Jin-woo brushes it off, saying he's going with a friend. Jin-woo heads back to the entrance of the demon castle. He remembers the last time he was here he was only level 20 and barely made it out alive after fighting Cerberus. Now his level is 3 times higher, so he figures this challenge should go a lot smoother. Using the key from his system, Jin-woo steps inside, going over the quest objectives in his head. The castle is crawling with demons, and his job is to gather their souls. But when the quest updates, Jin-woo is floored. It says he needs to collect 10,000 demon souls. He can't even believe there are that many demons packed into this place. Still, Jin-woo stays focused on his real goal, getting the ingredients for the elixir of life. No matter how many demons he has to fight, nothing will stop him from finishing this quest. Meanwhile, Yu is having a serious talk with his father. He tells him he wants to take over the guild, fully aware that his older brother is planning to do the same. Yu doesn't agree with his brother's approach though. He's convinced his brother is going to bring in some outsider to run things, and he thinks that's way too risky for the company. But Han seems more worried about Yu's choice of friends. Specifically, he's talking about Jin-woo. Han points out that Jin-woo has been involved in 3 major, mysterious and highly controversial events. First, there was the double dungeon. Then, there was the raid where Dong-suk's entire team got wiped out. Finally, there was the surveillance hunter who murdered a group of convicts. Jin-woo wasn't just present at all of these events, he managed to survive them all somehow. On top of that, Jin-woo was also involved in the Red Gate incident, where he led the survivors to safety. And now, he helped Yu clear the 19 raids needed to become a master hunter. Han isn't thrilled about all this. He feels insulted that Yu leaned on someone like Jin-woo to gain control of the guild. Yu admits he didn't handle things perfectly, but he still believes he knows what's best for the guild. That's when Han shocks him by agreeing to let Yu take charge, but only under one condition. Han says the White Tigers Guild has been eyeing Jin Woo ever since the Red Gate incident. Jin Woo is clearly someone important, and Han wants him in their guild instead. He asks if Yu can make it happen, and Yu promises that he will. Back in the demon castle, Jin Woo is frustrated, realizes he can't extract the demons to add to his army, and has no idea why. He's already taken down a whole bunch of them, but it feels like all that effort might have been for nothing. Suddenly, Jin Woo gets an entry permit for the next floor. A beam of light shows him the way. As he follows it, he's still trying to wrap his head around how massive this dungeon is. It's like a whole city packed into one building, and all the walking is starting to wear him out. Good thing Jin Woo doesn't have to walk the whole way. He summons the bear leader to carry him. He runs into a swarm of demons blocking the path, but that's no problem for his beast. The bear charges straight through them like they're nothing, so Jin Woo decides to name him Tank. Meanwhile, a group of girls is hyped as they admire Chahi. While they talk, Chahi remembers her conversation with Mr. Choi. He decided to keep the reports about the flying ants under wraps, but Chahi thinks they should let the public know. Mr. Choi explained his reasoning: it would only spark panic. Instead, they should focus on strengthening their organization. As the biggest guild in the country, getting stronger is the best move for their future. Back with Jin Woo, he's cutting through more demons. At first, he worried this might be an S-rank dungeon when he got the key, but the demons are closer to high-level B rank. There's a ton of them though, and they keep getting tougher the higher he climbs. By only killing the demons needed to pass each floor, Jin Woo has made steady progress. He figures this castle has 100 floors, just like the tower, and wonders how strong he'll be by the time he reaches the top. When he hits 4,000 souls collected, Jin Woo reminds himself to keep an eye on his supplies. He's also racing against time, needing to keep his promise to Jinna that he'll only be gone for 1 week. Finally, he reaches the 10,000 mark of souls collected and starts thinking about how far he can go. That's when he runs into a group of powerful monsters. The leader has its name displayed in red, which means one thing: this is a serious threat. Its name is Vulcan, and it's the boss of the lower floors. Elsewhere, Sang is searching for Jin Woo, but his sister told him he's away on a trip. There's no record of him being on a raid or leaving the country. The association's last trace of him is right in the middle of a city, and now they can only guess where he is. Back inside the dungeon, Jin Woo sizes up Vulcan. He tells his army to handle the smaller demons while he takes on the boss. His soldiers leap into action, cutting down the demons with ease. Jin Woo's progress in his intellect ability means he can summon more soldiers and maintain them longer. The extra magic power has made fighting much easier. As he watches his army do their thing, Jin Woo locks eyes on the boss demon. Vulcan hasn't moved yet, so Jin Woo assumes it's just sitting there waiting. But the second Jin Woo drops his guard, Vulcan explodes into action, moving with incredible speed to attack. Jin Woo is stunned. It was way faster than he expected. Jin Woo moves with insane speed, dodging the attack and firing back with a counter that lands hard. His punch sends the giant boss flying, and even Jin Woo is shocked. All he did was throw a punch, so now he's wondering if he leveled up his strength. But Vulcan is far from done. The beast lets out a thunderous roar, shifting into what looks like another mode. It reminds Jin Woo of what happened with Cerberus. The beast comes charging again way faster than before, and Jin Woo calls for Iron. Immediately Iron tosses him a shield just in time. Jin Woo blocks the attack, but Vulcan keeps throwing punches in a relentless barrage. The flurry is intense, and Jin Woo can't believe how something this massive is moving so fast. Finally, he spots an opening and maneuvers to the back of the beast, but he's stunned to realize Vulcan is anticipating his moves. This thing is a straight-up monster, and the only weak spot Jin Woo can see are its small beady eyes. Thinking fast, Jin Woo starts running, knowing he needs to stop Vulcan from zipping around. He spots a building that's perfect for his plan and takes off toward it. Vulcan, too focused on chasing him, smashes straight into the structure. With the beast pinned and unable to move, Jin Woo summons his weapon and slices clean through Vulcan's neck. The Lord of the Lower Floors is defeated, and Jin Woo receives an item called the World Tree Fragment. Meanwhile, F1 is being interrogated by Dong Su. Dong Su has heard rumors that F1 is a talking magic beast, but F1 denies it. He even agrees to let them run any tests they want, including DNA. But Dong Su is not in the mood for conversation. He orders F1 to stay quiet unless spoken to. Dong Su, clearly annoyed, glances over F1's paperwork. F1 tries to ask a question anyway, wondering what humanity has learned about gates and magic beasts. Dong Su brushes him off, saying he has no idea what F1 is talking about. F1 presses on, explaining that the dungeons, the gates, and the beasts are only the beginning. He warns that a power capable of triggering an ultimate catastrophe has already awakened. F1, who has lost his sight, reveals his goal is to stop this disaster before it's too late. Dong-su has had enough of the rant. He reminds F1 that millions of hunters exist across the globe, and if they combine their strength, they can take on any threat. F1, however, drops a chilling truth. Numbers won't matter against the threat he's talking about. Instead, those hunters will be devoured and turned into weapons for their enemy. Dong-su, frustrated and confused, shifts the topic, wondering how a magic beast could have a wife and 2 kids. Curious, he asks F1 for his son's name. He looks at him calmly and says, "His name is Jinwoo." Dong-su gets a twisted sense of joy hearing this and tells F1 that his son is already dead. He refuses to answer any of F1's questions and coldly tells him to save them for when they meet in hell. As he makes this threat, Dong-su lets some of his power flare up, but F1's eyes turn murderous, showing he is not intimidated in the slightest. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, Jinwoo's army is tearing through another wave of demons. Jinwoo speaks to the demon leader, pointing out how one-sided things are getting. He wonders if the demon is stunned by how unstoppable his shadow soldiers are. It becomes clear to Jinwoo that even the undead can feel fear. Without hesitation, he slices the leader's head clean off. A notification pops up, revealing that he just defeated Metis, the guider of souls, and his level has gone up again. Outside the dungeon, part of the city lies in ruins after a major disaster. An investigator explains that when S-rank hunters clash, it's like the whole landscape shifts, leaving destruction everywhere. Despite the damage, the investigator notes that things could have been much worse. The fight was over so quickly it barely had time to spread further. He stares at the aftermath, stunned by how fast Dong-su was completely defeated. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo realizes he's run out of food, meaning this is as far as he can go for now. He's reached floor 75, with 25 floors likely left. That is still a long climb, but the rewards so far have been worth it. From the skeleton he just defeated, he got a necklace. From the beast on floor 50, he picked up an earring. Both items are useful on their own, but together they unlock a set bonus that boosts all his stats by 5 points. There is 1 spot left in the set, which means another boss-level beast is waiting for him. Jinwoo also received something called the Sphere of Avaricious. It is not useful for him directly, but it doubles the firepower of magic soldiers, making it a valuable addition. Finally, he earned the option to pick the cursed random loot box. Jinwoo had worried he would not get another shot at the box, so he is relieved to receive a second key. Unfortunately, the key comes with no details, so he has no idea when or where to use it. Jinwoo shakes off the distraction, reminding himself of his real mission, the ingredients for the elixir of life. He already got the world tree fragment from Vulcan and the spring water from Echo Forest after defeating Metis. That makes 2 out of the 3 ingredients he needs. Only 1 ingredient remains before he can save his dying mother. Jinwoo vows that the next time he steps into this dungeon, he is finishing the job. After Jinwoo exits the instance dungeon, he starts thinking about the next step. The only thing left for him is the purified Demon King's blood. He knows it's going to take everything he's got to get it, so he plans to be fully prepared. Looking at his stats, he notices how much his level has jumped after his recent journey. The issue though is that he's still ranked as an E-rank hunter. Even though he can keep leveling up, his current rank won't let him participate in high-level raids. That's when Jinwoo decides it's time to drop the act and show the world what he's really made of by getting his rank reassessed. The next day, Jinwoo heads to the assessment center. Meanwhile, Kichul, Sang's right-hand man, is also at the center scouting hunters. He casually sizes up the other hunters, predicting their ranks when his eyes land on Jinwoo. Shocked to see him there, Kichul quickly calls Yunho, letting him know Jinwoo is getting his rank reassessed. Without hesitation, Yunho drops everything and heads to the center. While Jinwoo waits for his turn, he overhears 2 hunters talking. One of them reassures the other not to stress too much, saying the test is straightforward. The nervous guy reveals his problem. He needs to make money as a hunter, or his wife and daughter are leaving him. The other hunter encourages him, saying as long as he ranks above E, he'll be fine. He even points to the recruiters, explaining how they're eager to offer contracts to anyone ranked higher than E. Jinwoo quietly reflects on how E-rank hunters have always been overlooked. Then his name gets called for the test. Inside, the examiner notes that he's here for a reassessment and assumes he knows the procedure. She asks him to place his hand on the black crystal. Jinwoo does what she says, but her expression changes when the machine displays an error. Thinking it's a fluke, she has him try again. When the same error pops up repeatedly, her superior steps in. He tests the crystal himself and the error appears yet again. After inspecting the machine, he realizes this isn't a malfunction. The crystal can't evaluate Jin Woo's magical power because it's off the charts. The examiner is stunned as the superior announces that Jin Woo has surpassed the machine's limits. That's when they both realize they're looking at the country's newest S-rank hunter. Meanwhile, outside the evaluation center, Mr. Choi asks Jin Chul how the investigation on the winged ants is going. Jin Chul explains the department has been dissecting samples, comparing them to older ones. Progress is being made, but it will still take time to get solid answers. Mr. Choi nods before bringing up the Red Gate incident, saying he heard about the White Tiger Guild letting someone outside the guild join their raid, claiming this person even took down the boss. He asks Jin Chul who this person is, but Jin Chul admits he doesn't know. Turns out he was there during the raid but left before it ended. As they talk, Mr. Choi notices some sort of commotion inside the building. They both step inside to figure out what's going on. Word is spreading fast. Jin Woo's magic is so strong the machine couldn't read it. Everyone's amazed, whispering that something like this has never happened before. The examiner tells Jin Woo he has to return in 3 days so they can use a stronger machine to evaluate him. Kitchell watches from a distance, realizing Sang was right about Jin Woo being special. He knows it's time to approach Jin Woo and strike up a conversation. Just then, Mr. Choi and Jin Chul enter the scene. Jin Woo recognizes Mr. Choi as the ultimate hunter, one of the strongest fire mages out there. Mr. Choi notices Jin Woo's intense aura, understanding that he's the cause of all the attention. Planning to recruit Jin Woo, Mr. Choi starts walking toward him, but Jin Woo doesn't even stop to listen. He walks right past Choi without hesitation. The entire room goes silent. Mr. Choi, stunned, turns to Jin Chul asking if he was properly introduced earlier. Jin Chul confirms he was, but Jin Woo simply ignored it. By the time they look again, Jin Woo has completely disappeared. They figure he's an assassin type since he moves so quietly. Moments later, Yoon-ho rushes into the center, clearly out of breath. Seeing him arrive in such a hurry, Mr. Choi pieces everything together, realizing Jin Woo must be the hunter who cleared the Red Gate. Mr. Choi becomes certain that Jin Woo is an extraordinary talent. Without sticking around any longer, Mr. Choi leaves, while Yoon-ho is left overwhelmed, knowing the one person he didn't want finding out about Jin Woo now knows. At night, Jin Woo sits quietly beside his mom's bed watching her sleep. Before leaving, he tells her to hang in there a little longer. Stepping outside, he runs into Jin Chul, who's waiting for him. Jin Chul admits that Jin Woo proved him wrong. He explains how the surveillance team's job is to keep tabs on hunters and deal with those who break the law. He used to think he was great at reading people, but Jin Woo shattered that confidence. As Jin Woo heads for the exit, he asks if the surveillance team is keeping an eye on him too. Jin Chul clarifies they're not monitoring him as a criminal. He explains that the surveillance team has authority over most hunters, but S-rank hunters are a different story. Nobody can really control them. Jin Woo keeps walking, but Jin Chul stops him, saying someone wants to meet him. Gun Hee, the chairman of the Hunter Association, steps forward, introducing himself and asking for a chat. They sit down and Gun Hee congratulates Jin Woo on becoming an S-rank hunter. Jin Woo looks confused, but Gun Hee explains that the reassessment was just a formality. The moment the machine couldn't read Jin Woo's power, he was already classified as S-rank. Jin Woo asks why the reassessment was even necessary, and Gun Hee reveals it was a grace period. It gave the association a chance to talk to him before anyone else. Gun Hee shares that while the association has many hunters, only a few are exceptional. Most elite hunters join guilds to chase fame or money. He points out that even someone as skilled as Jin Chul, one of their best, is only ranked A. The association desperately needs someone stronger. Gun Hee gets straight to the point, asking Jin Woo to join the Hunter Association. He promises to give him the most important role within their ranks. He explains that hunters, not the government, hold real power in the country now. At the center of everything are the 5 major guilds, which barely keep a fragile balance. If Jin Woo were to join one of those guilds, it could completely upset that balance. Gun Hee proposes something bold. He wants Jin Woo to join the association and help make it the 6th major power, strong enough to keep the guilds in check. He lays it all out and asks Jin Woo what he thinks. Jin Woo takes a moment to seriously consider the offer, realizing it might be a rare opportunity. Jin Woo notices Gun Hee's incredible presence. He's not just a strong hunter, he's the first S-rank hunter in the country. The guy's got insane power and a physique that makes it hard to believe he's over 80. Even though Gun Hee stepped away from the front lines, Jin Woo can tell the man's strength is still on par with his own. Jin Woo knows that accepting this invitation could change his life for the better, but he turns it down anyway. Gun-hee assumes Jin-woo's decision is about chasing money like most hunters, but Jin-woo surprises him by saying he craves the thrill of battle. He admits that the dungeon feels like home to him. Hearing those words, Gun-hee's heart skips a beat. He hasn't felt this excited in years and thinks to himself that if he were a decade younger, he'd want to fight alongside Jin-woo. Respecting Jin-woo's choice, Gun-hee doesn't push the matter, and Jin-woo heads out. After Jin-woo leaves, Gun-hee sighs, admitting to himself that even S-rank healers can't turn back the clock on aging. He tells Jin-chul to cancel all his appointments for the day because he needs some time to himself. Meanwhile, Jin-woo is determined. He knows he has to get stronger as fast as possible so he can save his mom. He doesn't have the luxury to waste time sitting around. Over in America, Dong-soo is lying in a hospital bed, finally awake. The deputy director shows up to question him about F1. He asks if F1 is really a magical beast. Dong-soo, still bitter and angry, tells him that whatever power F1 used definitely wasn't human. He's convinced F1 is some kind of magic beast. The deputy director accepts his answer and turns to leave, but Dong-soo stops him, asking what the administration plans to do about F1. The deputy admits they're tracking him, but after what happened to Dong-soo, they're not confident they can catch him. As the director leaves, Dong-soo sits stewing in his anger, replaying F1's warning in his head. F1 had told him to stay away from his family, promising to make his life hell if he didn't. Dong-soo clenches his fists, thinking about how humiliating it all was. He knows he'll need something powerful to take F1 down, a strong artifact. It's explained that artifacts are top-tier equipment in the hunter's world, the kind of relics so rare and complex that even the best craftsmen struggle to make them. We then notice Jin-woo scrolling through an online auction site, checking out some artifacts, but nothing's catching his eye. Everything's either trash or way overpriced. He's thinking about how he needs to gear up properly before taking on the Demon Castle, but the options out there aren't cutting it. He glances at his Sphere of Avaricious, which can double the damage from magic, and starts sizing it up. He knows there are plenty of items on the market that can boost magic damage by 20 or 30%, but nothing comes close to doubling it like his sphere does. If he put it up for sale, it'd go for a crazy high price, but then people would start asking questions about where an E-rank hunter like him got something that powerful. He figures that if he'd had a record of completing a rank raid, he could have explained it, but being E-rank, he can't even get into those raids. While he's thinking this over, he spots a job listing from the Hunters Guild online. They're looking for miners for a big expedition, and there's no rank requirement. That catches his attention. At the same time, Gun-hee is flipping through files on Jin-woo. He notices how much Jin-woo has changed in the last 4 months. He wonders if Jin-woo might be a false ranker, but Jin-chul sets him straight. He explains that Jin-woo's been injured plenty of times in low-rank dungeons, so that rules out any false ranker rumors. Jin-chul also shares that Jin-woo became a hunter to support his sick mom and pay for his sister's school. Gun-hee's impressed by how much he's sacrificing for his family. Then Jin-chul drops another piece of news: Jin-woo has signed up for the Hunters Guild's raid mission. Gun-hee isn't thrilled, thinking Jin-woo probably couldn't resist the sign-up bonus. But Jin-chul surprises him again, revealing that Jin-woo didn't join the assault team, he signed up for the mining crew. Now Gun-hee's stumped, wondering what Jin-woo's planning. Meanwhile, Jin-woo shows up at the gate site and gets accepted as a miner thanks to his strength as a combat-type hunter. He explains how big gates, especially rank A1's, work. You need a ton of people to handle them. Assault teams to take down the monsters, mining teams to gather mana stones, and recovery teams to collect the monster corpses. Since this many people are involved, the rewards are massive. Inside the dungeon, the action's heating up. Guildmaster Mr. Choi is out there soloing monsters with his fire magic. His flames torch the creatures while the tanks shield him and the rest of the team from the blowback. The monsters are toast literally, but Mr. Choi doesn't stop. He keeps pushing forward, ready to take down whatever's next. Not long after, the assault team rolls out of the dungeon, and Jin-woo figures they must have taken out every monster except for the boss so the gate doesn't shut. He's thinking Mr. Choi has to be crazy strong to lead a team out of a gate without breaking a sweat. The miners start chatting about the second in command of the Hunters Guild, and that's when Cha-hee steps out of the gate. Jin-woo checks her out, sizing up her aura, and it's clear she's no lightweight. For a second, Cha-hee picks up on a powerful presence too, but it vanishes before she can figure it out. She shakes it off, thinking it's her imagination, but Jin-woo notices how sharp she is. He's impressed and decides it's time to get to work. The miners head into the gate and start digging up mana stones. Jin-woo's not really focused on the stones, though his mind's on the rank A boss. He's itching to see it with his own eyes, at least once. While he's working, he overhears some of the miners whispering about his E rank. Same old story, and he's not surprised. He brushes it off and keeps grinding. When they catch a glimpse of his muscles, they start wondering if he's really E rank. The guy looks way too strong for that. After a while, it's lunch break, but Jin Woo keeps swinging his pickaxe. The leader of the miners tells him to take a break, but Jin Woo waves him off, saying he's not stopping until he finishes this spot. The rest of the crew leaves the dungeon, but Jin Woo gets that sly look in his eye. This is his shot to check out the boss. He bolts straight to the boss room, heart pounding, thinking this boss has to be the toughest thing he's ever come across. He knows he's not supposed to mess with it. Taking it down would be a huge loss for the Hunters Guild, but his instincts won't let him back off. He summons his dagger, ready to charge in. Right as he's about to move, Chahi stops him in his tracks. She steps in and asks what the hell he's doing there, catching him red-handed. Jin Woo figures he messed up big time and tells Chahi he just got turned around and ended up here. She fires back, asking if he is from the mining crew, and lets him know he is in the territory of the boss, telling him to step back. Jin Woo is thinking Chahi totally lives up to the buzz. He did not even notice her coming until she started talking. Then Chahi points out that the dagger she saw in his hand earlier is gone, wondering if she was just imagining it. Jin Woo apologizes for wandering off, and she warns him to get out right away before he riles up the boss. As Jin Woo starts to leave, she spots something off and tells him to stop. He does, and she takes a quick sniff, surprised that he does not smell funky. She asks if he is really a hunter, and finds out he is, though he is just an E rank. He wonders if something is wrong, but she shrugs it off and tells him to be careful on his way out. As he turns to leave, she thinks maybe he does not smell bad because his rank is too low. Ironically, she figures he actually smells pretty good. Later, we see Jin Woo heading back into the dungeon after his break, while his mining buddies are all jealous that he got to meet Chahi when he got lost. They say they can only check her out from a distance, explaining that she is always patrolling the area to keep the boss in line, even if it means skipping her own break. Jin Woo realizes that is why she was hanging around the room of the boss. The mining boss even tells him that she is kind of picky about the scent of other hunters. The miners explain it is because of her unique build, which is why she always covers her nose with a handkerchief. Jin Woo notices her reaction to him was different and starts wondering if that means he does not carry the usual hunter scent. He recalls that the boss of the Red Gate said something similar and figures it must be because he is a player. Now he is left wondering what being a player really means, though he honestly has no clue. Later, we see him cashing in after the mining grind is over. The miner boss even thanks him because they wrapped things up early thanks to him. The crew tells him he has got some mad talent, and the boss adds that he has never seen anyone like him in all his years. The boss asks if he would be down to work for him from now on, promising fair pay, but Jin Woo says it is just a one-off job for him. The boss is not too thrilled with that answer, but he still begs Jin Woo to stick around for one more day, explaining that tomorrow they have got back-to-back A and C rank missions. Jin Woo figures his re-evaluation test is the day after tomorrow, and he feels like he really got a handle on the raid process today. However, he is pretty shocked to learn that the Hunter Guild is stacking raid missions one after the other. They are handling 2 missions tomorrow. The boss breaks it down. The second assault team is on deck for tomorrow's missions, and Jin Woo is totally blown away. He boasts that the Hunter Guild's biggest flex is having 2 assault teams that can raid a rank gates, something no other guild in the country can pull off. After hearing all that, Jin Woo agrees to roll through tomorrow too, and the boss is pumped. He tells Jin Woo he is going to talk to his higher-ups about doubling his salary. Jin Woo tells him not to worry about it, but the boss is having none of it. Later that night, we catch Chahi asking someone to dig up info on Jin Woo from the mining crew. It turns out the person already knows Jin Woo. He tells her that Mr. Choi had him do the same thing the other day, but he cannot share any details since all info on him is sealed by the Hunter Association. He thinks it is kinda sketchy. He has never seen the association lock down info on someone who is not a high-level hunter. Chahi cuts the call and flops onto her bed, wondering what all this could mean. She figures she has met a ton of hunters before, but this is the first time she has come across someone who actually smells good. The next day, Jin Woo pulls up to the gate site, and everyone welcomes him like he is a high-profile guest. It brings back memories of his early hunting days, and he cannot help but smile. They decide to kick things off with the C-rank gate, and you can see Jin Woo mining those monostones like a straight-up excavator. After wrapping up work, he grabs some grub with the crew, and the boss gives him mad props for all his hustle, saying they only finished early and hit this lunch break because of him. The boss even wonders if Jin Woo really does not want to stick with them, offering to pay him 5 times more, but Jin Woo straight up refuses. Then, the captain of the second assault team, Sun Ki-hoon, rolls in asking if he can borrow someone from the mining crew because their porter bailed today. The boss suggests that the recovery team would be better at carrying stuff, but Ki-hoon fires back that they already said they were short-staffed. The boss is not too happy with that, so Ki-hoon ups the offer by throwing in a risk allowance if the miners roll with him into the dungeon. The boss shuts it down, saying low-rank hunters like them are not built for porting in rank dungeons. Money is not going to fix that. Ki-hoon asks one last time if anyone is down, and Jin Woo steps up with his hand. The boss tries to talk him out of it, but Jin Woo tells him not to worry because he has got guts. They still try to stop him, saying he is too new and does not know what he is getting into, but Ki-hoon just asks his rank. When he hears Jin Woo is E rank, Ki-hoon shrugs and says that is cool, so he is bringing him along. They then head to the gate, and Jin Woo notices this gate is bigger than the one from yesterday. Ki-hoon mentions it might be larger, but its magic power is not as strong as yesterday's, assuring him it is not dangerous, or else the second team would not be there. Jin Woo then sees there are 6 rank A and 3 rank B hunters on the team, making it a legit assault team even without an S rank hunter. They head into the gate, and while Jin Woo figures the magic power here is definitely lower than before, he still senses something ominous better resembling the red gate. The team's healer tells him not to stress because all the hunters here are strong, and nothing is going to go down as long as he sticks with them. Ki-hoon is thinking that once this raid mission is done, he will finally get promoted to captain of this team, believing he can handle it, even if he is not as strong as the current captain and vice captain. Just then, they pick up on some monsters ahead and instantly gear up without waiting for any orders. They get jumped by some dungeon jackals, but these critters are weak, gone in seconds. Everyone is surprised to see dungeon jackals here, and Jin Woo wonders if they are a rare breed. The healer explains they are just C-rank monsters, and it is odd to see them in a dungeon since weak monsters usually get snapped up by the stronger ones. Then Jin Woo notices collars around their necks, which means someone was raising them as hunting dogs. Right then, a fresh wave of monsters rolls in, an army of high orcs. One of them throws a spear and Ki-hoon barely blocks it. The orcs charge and the tank tries his taunt skill, but it does not work, so they end up targeting the folks in the back. One orc manages to push them back, but the monsters take no real damage thanks to their high magic resistance. The party's mage tries to bind one of them, but it is too strong, so the fire mage summons 2 fire soldiers to back her up. The fire soldiers go to war with the orcs while the rest of the team is busy fighting. The orcs injure the team's martial artist and they ask the healer to patch her up, but she is already busy healing the tank. Ki-hoon starts thinking they are seriously outnumbered and this might be the end for them, especially when the orcs chop off one of the hunter's arms. Hoping no one dies, the healer fixes up the hunter who just lost his arm, regenerating it completely, while the bespectacled mage holds off the orcs. Then an orc sneaks up behind the healer and she braces for the worst. Out of nowhere, Jin Woo steps in with his ruler's hand, ripping out the orc's spine. The healer is left stunned and Jin Woo uses his stealth skills to back up the other hunters, sneaking around and attacking the orcs quietly to weaken them before anyone notices. The team is surprised to see the orcs suddenly losing their edge, so they go all in, launching a full-scale offensive and taking them down one by one. Jin Woo does not want to stand out as an outsider, but he refuses to let anyone die on his watch. He keeps sneaking around, taking down the monsters without drawing too much attention. In the end, the rest of the hunters finish the job, wiping out all the orcs. Ki-hoon checks in with everyone, making sure they are all good, and he is relieved to see they are. The healer tells him something weird went down during the fight, and Ki-hoon adds that he noticed the monsters suddenly got way weaker. He asks the mages if they had a hand in it, but they deny it, saying there is no way that could happen without someone on the assassin-type side handling things. They decide not to overthink it since they ended up winning in the end, chalking it up to pure luck. Meanwhile, the bespectacled mage and the crew figures their porter really underestimated them. He should have known his stealth would be picked up, especially with a magic caster around. She keeps her thoughts to herself because she thinks he had his reasons, and she owes him major props for keeping them alive. Then the hunters ask their captain whether they should keep pushing forward or pull back, pointing out that if they want to take on a dungeon of this caliber, they would need at least 2 more healers and 3 more mages. They are all about retreating, and the leader takes a minute to think it over. Jin-woo gets why some might stick around in a dungeon, but he hopes the boss makes the right call. In the end, the leader decides to pull out, and everyone is relieved. They roll up to the exit gate, only to find it sealed off by a barrier. They all remember that this thing was not there when they first rolled in, so the mages step up to break it down, feeling grateful they chose to dip because this dungeon is clearly packing some high-level magic. At that moment, everyone feels a huge surge of magical power washing over them, and they start wondering if that surge comes from the boss. The mages hustle to tear down the barrier, and Jin-woo begins questioning why a spike of magic like that was not picked up when they were still outside, seeing as even a B-rank hunter should have caught wind of it. Just then, the mages start bleeding all over, and everyone realizes a curse was laid on the barrier as a trap. The captain tells one of the hunters to cast some divine magic, but nobody listens, so he turns around to see what is going on and spots an entire army of orcs behind them. They count roughly 50 orcs, while the leaders of both sides step forward to meet halfway. The orc leader tries to communicate, but his words make no sense to them, and then the orc shaman takes over the leader's body and starts speaking in human. The shaman introduces himself as Kargalgan and tells Kahun he wants to see the humans. Kahun asks if he was the one who blocked the entrance, and the shaman confirms it. Kahun then asks if there is any stronger force in the dungeon, and the shaman replies there is not, ordering him to choose between coming to see him or dying at the hands of his soldiers. Kahun clearly opts to face the shaman, and the orcs lead the way. Meanwhile, Kahun tells Jin-woo they are going to attack the boss as soon as they hit its chamber, which will distract it long enough so it cannot keep up the barrier. He orders Jin-woo to take the chance to dip out and alert the other assault team, leaving Jin-woo to wonder if they are setting themselves up for a fatal end. Kahun makes it clear that their mission is to shut down the gate, not to come out of the dungeon alive. The healer hands Jin-woo a short will, asking him to give it to her family. Jin-woo accepts it, hoping it never comes to that, while she stresses that they have to complete the mission even if things are different for him and he must make sure he escapes. Jin-woo thinks this desperate situation reminds him of the double dungeon, but the people here are nothing like those he has seen before. At the same time, outside the gate, Cha-hee is searching for Jin-woo, but she cannot find him and wonders if he bailed on the team. The boss of the mining crew notices her, and when she asks about Jin-woo, she learns he went inside the gate as a porter. Back inside the gate, Jin-woo and the others arrive at a throne room where they are greeted by Kargalgan and a massive army of orcs. Meanwhile, outside the gate, Cha-hee stands there, wondering why Jin-woo went inside as a porter, knowing damn well he's only got one life to live. She remembers seeing him just yesterday, standing in front of a boss room with a weapon in hand. There's something about him that feels off. She turns to the leader of the miners, telling him she's heading in to check things out. She asks if they got any weapons lying around. The leader doesn't have much to offer. He hands her a pickaxe. She looks at it, then asks if there's anything else, but all they have are mining tools, nothing that even resembles a real weapon. Cha-hee figures she'll go in empty-handed, but the leader asks if she's sure about that. After thinking for a second, she takes the axe. Meanwhile, inside the gate, the hunters are freaking out over the insane number of high orcs. They know if this many get out, cities won't stand a chance. Then they spot the 4 generals, stronger than the rest by a mile. The boss raises a hand, ordering silence. The orcs stop their thumping, and Kahun realizes their mission is clear, to shut this gate down. And to do that, they gotta take out the dungeon boss. At that moment, the boss reaches for his mask. The moment it comes off, his magic energy floods the room, crashing over the hunters and shaking them to their core. They feel it heavy in the air, like they're standing in front of something beyond them. Kahun and the others are straight up terrified, realizing they're nothing compared to him. Kahun forces himself to ask why the boss even brought them here. The boss laughs, calling them nothing more than entertainment. He plans to kill them one by one, slowly and painfully, just to amuse his soldiers. That hits them hard. Despair creeps in, and fear sinks even deeper. Kahun feels like they're nothing more than disposable toys, completely meaningless. Then the boss's eyes shift, landing on Jin-woo. Something about him feels different. He ain't like the rest. Then out of nowhere, Kahun snaps. The weight of fear, anger, and desperation all explode at once. With everything he's got, he charges straight at the boss, roaring for the others to back him up. But when he looks around, nobody moves. The fear has them all frozen in place. With nothing but wild courage driving him forward, he swings straight at the boss. The boss doesn't even flinch effortlessly. He raises his magic shield, blocking the attack like it was nothing. He throws down his gravitational magic, slamming Kahun into the floor and sealing like a damn pinball. His squad watches in shock, but Jinwoo catches him and lays him down easy. He knows he ain't supposed to interfere this, the Hunters Guild's mission, but the whole assault team on the edge of getting wiped out. No way he's standing by. Suddenly, an orc lunges at him, but he shuts it down in an instant, crushing it with ruler's hand. He turns to Cahoon, asking if he can toss all these magical beasts his way. Cahoon, barely hanging on, begs him to take over. Dude got no other choice. The boss sees Jinwoo as arrogant, flaunting his magical power. At the same moment, Jinwoo senses the strongest aura he's ever felt, but their roles in this fight were destined to collide. Without missing a beat, Jinwoo calls up his shadow army, dead set on ending this right here and right now. Outside the dungeon, the scene shifts. Jin Chul and the surveillance squad pull up to the gate. The miners eye them, wondering what's going down. Jin Chul stuck on one thing: why the hell Jinwoo working as a miner for 2 days? Their leader steps up, asking what's up. Jin Chul fires back, wanting to know about Jinwoo. That when one of the miners, who been salty about Jinwoo, pipes up saying he always knew something off about that guy. Jin Chul brushes him off and turns back to the leader, asking where Jinwoo is. That when he finds out the dude already went inside the gate as a porter. None of this makes sense to Jin Chul. First Jinwoo breaking rocks in the mine. Now he's strolling into a high-risk dungeon as a porter. Since he hit S rank, every move he makes under watch. He just wishes the guy would think things through a little. The miners' leader still confused, but Jin Chul tells him to check the news tomorrow, he'll understand soon enough. Then he steps closer to the gate, and the leader tells him that Chahi had asked the same thing not long ago. That catches Jin Chul off guard, but before he can react, something even crazier hits him. He senses a wild aura coming from inside the gate. He tells his team to run another magic power test on this dungeon. Meanwhile, inside the gate, Chahi stares at the battlefield, stunned by the pile of dead high orcs. Ain't no way Cahoon's crew took down that many. She can't make sense of it. But one thing's clear: she felt that crazy surge of magic power too. No time to waste, so head straight for the boss room. Meanwhile, the boss laughing at Jinwoo, thinking he's a fool for bringing such a small force against his army. Jinwoo ain't phased. He amps up his shadow army with Monarch's Domain. He breaks it down. This a new job skill he picked up. And after that battle at the demon's castle, his shadow soldiers got way stronger. The other hunters are straight up lost at this point. The high orcs rush Jinwoo's army, but his generals rip through them like it's warm-up drills. Jinwoo steps in too, cutting down more high orcs. The hunters watching notice something: his movements match Chahi's. They can't figure out why somebody this strong came in as a porter. Jinwoo analyzes the fight, realizing his infantry's strength sits around a B-rank hunter's level, but his soldiers are dropping 4 or 5 times just to take down a single orc. If he don't thin their numbers fast, his mana gonna take a serious hit. That's when the boss jumps in, unleashing a fire spell that wipes out a huge chunk of Jinwoo's shadow soldiers. He tells Jinwoo to quit acting cocky, but Jinwoo don't even blink. He lets the boss know his soldiers can rise up again and again, no limit. The boss ain't having it. He smashes down with gravity magic, slamming both Jinwoo and his soldiers. He laughs, saying he'll keep crushing them till Jinwoo's magic power runs dry. The fight drags on. Every time the boss obliterates Jinwoo's army, Jinwoo just brings them back. Jinwoo watches closely, wondering if the boss is trying to keep his distance by relying on long-range attacks. The boss, on the other hand, is trying to see how long Jinwoo can hold out. Meanwhile, outside the gate, the magic power test results come in. Turns out this dungeon is almost at S rank level. Jin Chul don't waste time. He orders the miners to get the Hunters Guild leader on the line, while the surveillance team gears up to back the assault squad. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, the boss locks eyes with Jinwoo, telling him his army outmatches him in both strength and numbers. Jinwoo already knows his magic power is draining fast. Ain't no hesitation. He downs a mana potion, power surging back. Then he grins, saying he ain't even started showing what a real hunter can do. Without missing a beat, he resurrects every fallen high orc as undead. Then looks the boss dead in the eye, letting him know he's next. The boss freezes, confused. He mumbles, calling Jinwoo Lord, struggling to understand why he's even here. Then memories hit him. From the moment he opened his eyes in this place, one command has been running through his head: kill humans. The reason don't matter, orders are orders. He decides to follow through, sending his generals in to finish this fight. Cut to the Hunters Guild. Mr. Choi sits there, stunned as he hears the gate is close to S rank. Ain't no way that evaluation's wrong. If it was, Cahoon and the others would have been out by now. Reality hits him: if this gate breaks, it's Jeju Island all over again. The only difference is, this time they still have a chance to stop it, wasting none of it. He orders his assistant to mobilize every hunter in the guild. The assistant immediately sends word to every A rank and above. Then Mr. Choi adds something else. They might need backup from White Tiger and Fiend Guild. The assistant didn't see that coming, but Mr. Choi lays it out plain. Right now all they can do is stop this from spiraling into something worse. Back inside the boss room, the fight heats up. Jinwoo's generals clash with the Orc general, but they ain't struggling, they dominate. The boss watches, stunned, as his generals get completely wrecked. The other hunters decide to jump in, back Jinwoo up. But the boss ain't having it. He slashes through a few of them, making sure they stay out of his way. He finally gets off his burning ass, swearing he's gonna make Jinwoo regret ever stepping up to him. No hesitation, he casts curses, trying to blind him, slow him down, knock him out, but nothing works. Jinwoo stands tall unfazed, letting the boss know his resistance to poison and curses ain't like the rest. Without wasting a second, he summons his mages. The boss throws up his magic shield, trying to block the attack, but the mages hit him with a fireball powered up by the Orb of Avarice. That fireball cuts through his barrier, slamming into him hard. He freaks out, not expecting that. Right then, Jahi pulls up eyes wide, trying to make sense of what's happening. She spots the other hunters, sees Cahoon hurt, but the healer is already handling it. She asks what's going down, but they ain't even sure themselves. Meanwhile, the boss powers himself up, stacking spells on top of each other until he turns into a giant, then tries to stomp Jinwoo out. Jinwoo moves too fast. He mutters that he ain't got love for giants, probably cause of what went down in that double dungeon. The boss doesn't care, throws out fire spells all around. Burning up anything nearby, friend or enemy doesn't matter. He glares at Jinwoo, daring him to think he can still win this. Jinwoo don't hesitate, he goes straight for the boss's eye, stabbing deep. He smirks, telling the boss he messed up turning into a giant, it just made him a bigger target. Then he lays it out, mages with no backup don't stand a chance against assassin-type hunters. That only pisses the boss off more. He throws out some deadly fire magic, but Jinwoo is too quick, slipping past every attack. He goes in with his dagger, but the blade barely does a thing. He knows he needs something heavier. That's when he uses his ruler's hand, snatching up some chains, wrapping them tight around the boss, then starts slamming him all over the place. Right then, Jin Chul steps in, eyes locked on the crazy scene in front of him. He tells Chahi he showed up cause he sensed some strong magic outside, but looking at this now, it don't seem like his help's needed anymore. Seeing even the chief of the surveillance department recognizing Jinwoo's power, Chahi starts thinking he must be a big deal. She turns to Jin Chul, asking who Jinwoo really is. Jin Chul shrugs, says he don't even know the guy like that. At that moment, Jinwoo tells the injured boss his fate was sealed the second his guards died. But the boss refuses to go out like that, so Jinwoo calls up his own former guards to finish the job right then and there. After wrecking the boss, Jinwoo levels up and pulls the boss's soul straight out. He sees he can name him, but don't even remember what the boss was called, so he names him Fang. Turns out Fang got the Elite Knight rank. Jinwoo ain't seen that rank before, but he knows it's something serious. He also figures the High Orcs were a solid win. Then Jinchul steps up. Jinwoo ain't noticed him till now, too caught up in soul extraction. The other hunters come up, asking what the hell just happened. But before he can say a word, Jinchul's team cuts in, telling them Jinwoo is the association's top secret right now. He tells everybody to keep quiet about what went down, letting them know Jinwoo only showed that S-rank power to protect them. Jinchul and his people walk Jinwoo out, but before leaving, Cahoon and his crew step up, thanking him straight up. Jinwoo nods, then looks at the healer again, making sure the message is clear. Later, Mr. Choi gets the report on everything that happened, and now he sees how unreal Jinwoo really is. He can't believe how many skills this guy got. He asks Cahoon who's stronger, him or Jinwoo. Cahoon tells him raids usually take a whole squad, everybody playing their role, but Jinwoo breaks all that common sense. Then he asks Mr. Choi if he thinks he could solo the hardest S-rank dungeon. Mr. Choi don't even hesitate. He says no. In his head, that ultimate hunter title of his don't mean a thing anymore. Meanwhile, Jinwoo links up with Yu, asking how that whole guild master situation went. Yu tells him what's up. Then the scene flips to the Hunter Association. A famous actor, Lee Min-seung, just awakened as a hunter, the media swarming the place. Min-seung standing there, eating up all the attention, feeling like he's the main event. The scene transitions to Yoon-ho and Choi rolling up at the Hunter Association, swarmed by media thinking they showed up to recruit Lee Min-seung. Yoon-ho looks confused as hell, shaking his head before saying that ain't why he's here. Choi's heard the name but points out the guy already signed with the Fiend Guild, adding that they're here for something else. With that, the media loses interest and moves on. Yoon-ho remembers hearing Choi had trouble with that A-rank dungeon that almost tipped into S-rank. Choi shrugs, saying it wasn't as bad as what the White Tiger Guild went through in the Red Gate. They lost people. Yoon-ho says he heard Choi was real close to calling him for backup, but Choi says Jin-woo stepped in and handled it. Says he owes the guy a big welcome into his guild. Yoon-ho nods, says Jin-woo saved them too, so he gotta do the same. They start going back and forth over who's bringing him in. That's when the Fiend Guild master walks up, asking if they fighting over Lee Min-seung. They both shut that down, saying they ain't even thinking about him. Jin-woo steps into the association, wondering what all the noise is about. Cut to Jinna's schoolgirls, they're scrolling through the news. They see the Hunter Association covering Min-seung and start talking. They say the dude got a bad rep, caught up in scandals, messing around with actresses he works with. Back at the association, Min-seung stands in front of the media, acting all serious. Says he's made his decision, he's gonna be a hunter. He announces he's joining the Fiend Guild under Lim Tae-jayu. Reporters ask if that means he's walking away from the entertainment industry. They shocked he's making moves before even seeing his assessment results. But Min-seung acts like he already knows he's an A-rank hunter. His contract with the Fiend Guild locked in for 2 years. After that, he plans to slide back into the industry, betting people gonna forget his scandals by then. He puts on a whole act about risking his life fighting magic beasts, no matter his rank. Right then, Jin-woo tries to step inside, but Min-seung's guards stop him, saying he can't enter till the conference is over. That's when Gun-hee shows up, tells them Jin-woo is his guest, and reminds them he already told them not to hold a press conference at this time. Min-seung ain't happy as hell about this, but Gun-hee don't give a damn. He takes Jin-woo inside without a second thought. The media starts wondering who Jin-woo is. Min-seung tries to head into the association to get appraised, but Jin-chul steps in his way, tells him he can't go in right now since others are getting reappraised. Min-seung looks at him, asking if he knows who he's talking to, throwing out threats, saying he could lose his job with just one word. Jin-chul don't even flinch, tells him he don't know him and warns him to stay outside unless he wants trouble. Gun-hee leads Jin-woo straight to the reassessment venue. Jin-woo walks in and notices Choi and Yoon-ho already there, waiting to see his results. He steps into the assessment room, and before they check his power, they ask what kind of abilities he got. Jin-woo summons one of his soldiers right in front of them. Gun-hee ain't fooled though. He knows this ain't all Jin-woo can do, since Jin-chul already filled him in on what the guy is really capable of. Jin-woo decides to stop playing around. He summons his whole army, letting them know he got at least 100 more where that came from. Gun-hee watches straight up stunned. Choi and Yoon-ho can feel his magic power, realizing it's stronger than theirs. Once the appraisal's done, Jin-woo walks out with his brand new S-rank hunter license. Now that he's officially ranked, nobody gonna question him if he sells the Spear of Avarice. He figures he can flip it for cash and use the money to get himself fully geared up. He's got his mind set on conquering the Demon Castle next, and Gun-hee's looking forward to seeing what he can pull off. Jin-woo leaves the association. Choi and Yoon-ho are already outside, waiting to talk to him, hoping to recruit him. But he walks right past them, saying he got other things to take care of. Right as he steps through the doors, cameras start flashing. The media's all over him. Somewhere else, Song-yi sees his face pop up on the news and calls Jinna over. Jinna stares at the screen, straight up shocked her brother's an S-rank hunter now. All of Jin-woo's people see the news. Some can't believe it, while others knew it was coming. Back at the association, the media don't give a damn about Min-seung no more. They're all up in Jin-woo's face, throwing questions at him left and right. At the same time, Yu tells his father he couldn't get Jin-woo to join his guild. He remembers how Jin-woo straight up turned him down, saying he got something he gotta handle first, and he gotta do it alone. Jin-woo told him he needs to get stronger to make it happen, and joining a guild right now would only slow him down. Then he flipped it on Yu, told him to follow him instead. Yu's father ain't having it, asks him if he even realizes how selfish he's being. Reminds him that he originally put this whole thing in his brother's hands, but changed plans just because Yu pushed for it. And now he's talking about walking away like it's nothing. Then he looks him dead in the eye and asks if he really thinks that's fair. Yu flashes back to his time with Jin-woo, then looks his father dead in the eye, saying he's going to Jin-woo no matter what. At the same time, association staff keeping the media from getting too close to Jinwoo. Yoonho offers to take him home, saying dealing with the press gonna wear him out. Jinwoo tells him there's no need, then without hesitation speeds right past them, slipping through the crowd before anyone can react. Choi's straight up stunned, can't believe Jinwoo's that strong physically even though he's a mage. Yoonho tries to follow his movement but realizes he lost track of him. He starts wondering if Jinwoo's gotten even stronger since last time they met. Jinwoo's got his own thoughts, he just needs to get the right gear now. The next thing, we see him at an auction house. He walks up to a staff member, says he needs something to protect against fire attacks. The staff asks what it's for, and Jinwoo tells him it's to handle the heat inside a dungeon. The guy shows him a cloak and some rings, says they're solid and affordable. But Jinwoo checks the price, it's still a little too high. He asks if they can lower it, but the staff says prices are fixed. Then with a smirk, he tells Jinwoo if he can break the glass holding the equipment, he might just get it for free. Jinwoo's caught off guard, but gets ready to punch the glass anyway. Right before he swings, the staff stops him laughing, saying he was just joking. Tells him even if he couldn't break it, one little vibration would have set off the alarm. Then he says sorry, admitting he took the joke too much. Jinwoo feels kinda weird about it, so he tells the staff he wants to check out some weapons too. The guy in charge of weapons takes him over to see some short swords, and meanwhile, the other staff notices something. Jinwoo somehow cracked the glass without even touching it. While Jinwoo's checking out a short sword, he asks how much it costs, and damn, it's pricey. He can't believe they're charging that much. So he pulls out a dagger he just bought from his own store and asks how much they'd pay for it. The staff tells him it could sell for 100 million. Jinwoo's caught off guard, he only paid 2.8 million gold for it in the store. That's when it hits him, items from the store must be worth way more than what he's paying. If that's the case, he figures he won't have to sell the Sphere of Avarice after all. He dips into the bathroom for a sec, and then the scene cuts to the White Tiger Guild headquarters. Yoonho's sitting there, thinking about Jinwoo's strength. He knows Jinwoo's second awakening ended a while ago, but somehow, the guy's still getting stronger. Then a thought crosses his mind, what if he's been looking at this all wrong? What if Jinwoo's a hunter who just keeps leveling up? The scene shifts again, this time to Jinwoo's house. Jinna notices the media finally backed off. She's relieved, means she can go back to school without all the attention. Jinwoo figures the association must have stepped in to help with that. Jinna, annoyed, says that he could be on TV if he wanted, but tells him not to drag her into it. Jinwoo thinks there's no point arguing, it's not like it's up to him anyway. Then he lets her know he'll be gone for a week starting tomorrow. She's surprised, wondering what he'll be doing. Right then, Yu shows up at the door. Jinna looks at him and says he must be one of Jinwoo's friends. Yu smirks and says he's Jinwoo's right-hand man. Jinwoo shrugs it off and tells Jinna he'll be working with this guy for the week. Yu has no idea what he's talking about, but Jinwoo taps his shoulder and he gets the message, play along. Late at night, Yu's knocked out sleeping in Jinwoo's room. Jinwoo checks on Jinna, thinking things might have calmed down for now, but the whole world knows he's an S-rank hunter now, so he's gotta stay sharp. He summons Fang's guards from earlier and notices there are only 3 of them. He remembers Fang had 4. One of them reminds him the last one got launched to the ceiling by Jinwoo, and his shadow extraction didn't reach that far. Jinwoo doesn't sweat it. 3 are enough. He leaves one behind to watch over Jinna and moves on. Up on the roof, Jinwoo figures he needs to step up security in the neighborhood too. So he sends out some of his soldiers to patrol the area, keep things in check. The next morning, Yu and Jinwoo are driving somewhere. Yu thanks him for letting him crash at his place. Jinwoo tells him he didn't have to bail on his house. Yu waves it off, telling him not to stress, then asks what business he's got at Disung Tower. Jinwoo tells him he's gonna be training for a week. Yu's caught off guard, Jinwoo's already an S rank, and he still wants to get stronger. Jinwoo tells him he does, and Yu just nods, not too shocked. Cut to Jinwoo inside the Demon Tower, geared up with his water-based ring and his robe of wind. He's ready to take over this place. Then he gets a quest, take down the Demon Monarch, Baron, sitting at the top floor. He checks the rewards runestone for shadow exchange and 30 ability points. That gets him hyped. Without hesitation, he teleports straight to the 76th floor. At the same time, over at Yu's house, his mom is talking to his dad. She's stunned their son dipped out. His dad doesn't seem too worried, but then out of nowhere he collapses. Back at the Demon Castle, Jinwoo's locked in a fight with a boss-level monster. He summons Fang and hands him the Spear of Avarice. Fang unleashes a fire spell, torching the monster to ashes. Watching that raw power, Jinwoo knows he's gotta be real careful about when to bring Fang into the fight. After that, Yu's father wakes up in the hospital and finds out that Yu came to see him. His wife tells him she lied, saying he collapsed from overwork. But they both remember what the doctor told them: he's got the eternal slumber disease. The doctor explained it's a condition where a person suddenly gets hit with extreme drowsiness until eventually they just never wake up. Yu's father couldn't understand why this happened to him. The doctor said people with low magic power resistance are at risk if they're exposed to magic for too long. Then he asked if there were any hunters in his family or close circle, and that got both of them thinking about their son Yu. But the doctor made it clear they're not completely sure that's the cause. Yu's father starts wondering if he's being erased by this world. In the meantime, over at the country's border, a group of hunters is making their rounds. They spot a flying magic beast and try to figure out what they're looking at. In the meantime, deep in the demon castle, Jinwoo's been leveling up after the last few fights. He's got his soldiers split into 6 teams, each moving separately under his orders. He gave them 2 commands: wipe out any enemies they see and let him know the second they find the permit. Because of that, he won't be collecting any loot other than the permit. But it's the fastest way to move forward. Still, his progress has been dragging ever since he hit the 80th floor. He starts wondering what's slowing his soldiers down. Then, out of nowhere, he feels his mana tanking hard. Something's taking out his soldiers one by one. And whoever it is, they're going straight for Team A. He's caught off guard someone strong enough to wipe out a squad of high orcs. He recalls the team and heads straight over to check it out himself. When he gets there, he realizes Team B got hit too. This enemy is no joke, but something feels off. Fang's team was way closer to Team A, but instead of attacking them, the enemy went straight for Team B, even though it was further away. That's when it clicks: the enemy knew they couldn't handle Fang. They're picking off the teams they can actually take down. Jinwoo figures out the next target: the Ice Bear squad. Right then, he spots some demon knights tearing through the ice bears like they're nothing but stuffed toys. Jinwoo watches from the shadows, hidden with his stealth skill. He can tell these knights are the real deal. That's when he decides time to step in. He drops his stealth. One of the knights comes at him, but Jinwoo takes him down in a blink. The other 2 try their luck, but he cuts through them just as fast, leaving only the leader standing. He steps toward her, but she backs off. That's when it hits him: he's always wondered if magic beasts could feel fear. Jinwoo squares up against the leader, ready to end it, but right before he lands the final hit, they throw up their hands, surrendering. The second they speak, something clicks. He can tell it's a girl. He rips off her helmet, getting a good look at her. She pleads for mercy, but he can't wrap his head around it. She started this fight in the first place, and now she wants to be spared. He tells her straight up every last one of her people is dead. She doesn't even flinch, saying it's the knight's duty to protect their lord with their lives. As long as she's safe, they'd be happy. That rubs Jinwoo the wrong way. She sounds selfish, but he's not wasting time arguing. He turns to leave, but the second his back is to her, she makes a move. Before she can do anything, Fang shuts her down instantly. Jinwoo glares at her, asking what she thinks she's doing. She drops the act, begging for her life, saying she'll do whatever he wants. He tells her to get him the entry permit. She says her family's got it, and if he lets her live, she can get it for him. Not only that, but she knows where all the permits are on the upper floors. If he guarantees safety for her and her family, she'll take him straight to them. That explains a lot. Jinwoo had been wondering why he couldn't find the permits. Turns out her family's been hiding them. But can he trust her? His eyes narrow with murderous intent. She's scared for her life. Then he agrees to let her live as long as she delivers the permit. She breathes a sigh of relief, thanking him. But before he moves on, he asks her who she really is. The scene jumps to an island, where a flying ant has torn through the place, wiping out everything in sight. Back in the demon castle, the girl finally gives her name: Essel, eldest daughter of the Raideru family. But that's not what Jinwoo was asking. He thought she might know something about the system, the same way Barca, the ice elf leader, did. He asks if she ever hears voices telling her to kill. She shakes her head, but says there is a different command, one telling her to protect this space. Jinwoo asks when it started. She says it's been that way since she got here. Before that she was in the demon realm. Nobody knows how, but one day they all just woke up in this place. Jinwoo starts thinking about what they were doing in the demon realm, but before he can press further, something shifts in Essel. Her whole demeanor changes, her voice flattening like a machine. She starts talking in a robotic tone, saying they were preparing for war. Jinwoo pushes for more, asking who they were getting ready to fight. She explains that it was an enemy so powerful the demons had no choice but to unite against it. She tries to go on, but something stops her. She struggles to speak. Then suddenly her mouth spits out an error message. Whatever she was about to say is classified. The conversation cuts off like someone just flipped a switch. Before Jinwoo can react, she collapses. He moves fast, catching her before she hits the ground. He figures there's no point in asking more questions, at least not now. The scene shifts to the Hunter Association, where a meeting is already underway. They're looking at pictures from the flying ant attack on the Japanese outlying islands. Jin Chul lays out the numbers: 294 casualties, 108 hunters involved in the fight. Among them, 4 E rank hunters, 1 C rank and 1 B rank didn't make it. Gun Hee stares at the reports, shocked that a single monster caused that much damage. Jin Chul adds that the creature was eventually taken down by an A rank hunter who arrived later. That's when Gun Hee starts putting things together. These flying ants have a rank strength. Jin Chul confirms it, saying that's what the investigation team found after dissecting the monster. Gun Hee looks at the map. The island that got attacked is only 120 kilometers from Jeju Island. If these things evolve get better at flying, they could land on the southern tip of the country. He wastes no time, ordering an immediate request for help from Japan and a warning to neighboring nations. He leans back, thinking about how he knew this was coming. He wanted to strike before it got this bad, but now it's too late. He makes the call. The 4th raid mission on Jeju Island is officially on. Back in the Demon Castle, Essel finally comes to, apologizing to Jinwoo for passing out of nowhere. He shrugs it off, asking if she's good now. She nods, then wondering if he was actually worried about her. Jinwoo admits he kind of was, then changes the subject, asking if her house is nearby. She points straight ahead. They walk up to the house, stepping inside, and her father immediately freezes. His eyes land on Jinwoo, and in an instant he picks up on something. His daughter brought home a monster. He looks at Jinwoo, then past him, noticing the endless shadows creeping behind him. Jinwoo watches Essel's father closely, noticing how sharp he is the moment he steps inside, and before he can even say a word, the old man's forces close in, making it clear he's not walking out of here alive. Essel jumps in, telling her father to wait, and Jinwoo stays calm, letting them know he made a promise not to harm anyone as long as he gets the permit. Her father studies him, already knowing the stories. Jinwoo took down both Vulcan and Medes, 2 powerhouses, and there's no point in pretending they can win against him. So with a sigh, he hands over the permit and tells him to leave. But Jinwoo isn't done yet. He looks right at Essel's father and asks if he can borrow his daughter, which catches him off guard, and before he can even ask why, Jinwoo explains that she told him she knows where all the permits are on each floor and asks if he can guarantee her safety. He promises he can, and after a long pause, Essel's father allows it. So Jinwoo turns to her and tells her to lead the way. Meanwhile, somewhere else, scientists are busy dissecting the flying ant, going over every little detail. While back in the castle, Jinwoo moves steadily through the floors, already making it to the 89th. Along the way, he notices both Igris and Tank have leveled up, with Igris now holding the rank of Elite Knight and Tank reaching the rank of Knight, making one of them as strong as an S-rank adventurer, while the other is as strong as an A rank. Essel, on the other hand, has been busy preparing gifts for the nobles above, thinking they'll help with negotiations, but Jinwoo waves her off, telling her he won't need them. She warns him that the nobles above level 90 aren't the same as the ones he's been fighting and are on a whole different level, so talking his way through won't be easy. But Jinwoo already knows that and tells her no one listens to someone weaker than them. He remembers her family is competing for rank among the demon nobles and promises that before this is over, they'll be the most powerful in this place, making her pause for a moment before asking why he even spared them in the first place. Jinwoo smirks and tells her straight up it's because he loves her, leaving her flustered. Jinwoo got this feeling that he really vibes with simple-minded folks like her and you. He looks at her and tells her it's time to head back home. He reminds her that she just said things are about to get real tough, and he ain't trying to drag her into danger. Before she leaves, he asks her to drop the location of the permits, but she hesitates, wondering if she's just dead weight to him. He shakes his head, tells her that ain't true, but it's not safe for her to keep pushing forward with him. She still wants to tag along, curious to see what kind of crazy achievements he's about to pull off. Seeing how determined she is, he figures she might as well come along, and before they know it, they're stepping onto the 90th floor. Moving ahead, Jinwoo cuts through the monsters like it's nothing. But he knows Essel was right. The deeper they go, the stronger and more packed these monsters get. Even so, he pushes forward without much trouble, and soon enough, he's standing on the 97th floor. Meanwhile, over at the Hunter Guild, Choi and Shahi get a call there's gonna be a 4th raid on Jeju Island. Choi breaks it down, letting her know that every S-rank hunter in the country's been called in. Chahi starts wondering if Jinwoo's gonna be there too. Choi tells her this time they're working with Japan since the flying ants are in their range too, and they decided to step in. She asks when the raid's going down, but nothing's locked in yet. Even so, Choi figures it won't be long. To go over the details, the top hunters from Japan's ultra-large guild are landing in their country today. Back in the demon castle, Jinwoo reaches the 100th floor and spots a wyvern circling above. It lands, and riding on its back is Baron, the demon monarch himself. Jinwoo can feel that overwhelming aura pouring off him, and he knows this fight ain't gonna be easy. Essel stands frozen, fear all over her face as she stares at the demon lord. Jinwoo quickly realizes he's gotta knock Baron off that ride first, or this fight is gonna be a nightmare. The wyvern shoots back into the air, and Baron wastes no time summoning demons to rush Jinwoo. Essel panics, unsure what to do, but Jinwoo doesn't hesitate. He calls out his army, their power boosted by his monarch's domain. The battle kicks off, and his army wipes out the demons like it's nothing. Essel watches in shock, blown away by Jinwoo's strength, but even after everything she's not sure if he can really take down Baron. Looking at him now, she starts questioning whose side she should even be on. Baron fires lightning into the sky, and within seconds it comes crashing down as a massive wide-range attack, wiping out Jinwoo's soldiers and draining a big chunk of his mana. Essel barely dodges it, but Jinwoo moves fast to shield her. He realizes this ain't ordinary lightning, it's got a stun effect packed into it. He knows he can revive his soldiers, but if they keep getting wiped out like this, his mana's gonna run dry fast. Before it gets worse, he activates dash and stealth, closing in on Baron, aiming straight for the wyvern. But Baron blocks the attack, seeing through his stealth like it's nothing. Jinwoo barely has time to react before Baron grabs him and slams him into the ground. Before he can recover, Baron fires off a homing lightning breath, but Jinwoo dodges just in time. Fang intercepts the attack, taking the hit for him. Then, right as Baron is still up there, Igris steps in and slices the wyvern's head clean off, forcing Baron to crash down to the ground. Jinwoo exhales relieved. He was getting tired of having to keep looking up at this guy. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Association, a major meeting is underway. The guild master of Draw Sword Guild, Goto Ryuji, arrives with his interpreter Hankawa. Gunhee explains that Draw Sword is one of Japan's strongest guilds, boasting 11th rank hunters, making it the second largest in Asia. Gunhee observes Goto and can feel the aura around him. The guy carries himself exactly how you'd expect from a guild master of that level. Hankawa thanks the association for accepting their joint assault proposal, but Gunhee waves it off, saying there's no need, they were the ones who asked Japan for backup first. She then reveals what their research has uncovered. They've analyzed all the provided data and dissected the winged ants, identifying two crucial details. First, the flying ants grow rapidly after hatching, but only live for a year, meaning if they kill the queen, the rest will naturally die off within that time. The second discovery is about their behavior. Reviewing the past 3 raids, they've confirmed that the ants are drawn to strong magic power. Hankawa explains that they plan to use this habit against them, and Gunhee acknowledges how thoroughly they've studied the ants' movements. Hankawa translates Goto's statement. Draw Sword Guild is sending 10 of their 11th rank hunters, and their mission is to lure the ants out. The Korean hunters are set to take down the queen ant, while the Japanese hunters act as bait. Jin Chul isn't too sure about this plan since it means facing thousands of ants head-on, but Goto doesn't have an issue with it. They're not really fighting, just drawing the ants away. Their AI simulation confirms this is the best approach, and Gunhee agrees to go with it. Meanwhile, in the demon castle, Jinwoo and his army are still locked in battle with the demons. He's moving too fast to even grab a mana potion, and he can already tell he's running low. Igris, Iron, and Fang are going toe-to-toe with Baron, but he's shutting down all their attacks with ease. Jinwoo moves in, but Baron blocks him too. Then out of nowhere, Baron grabs Jinwoo by the head, trying to finish him off right there. Before he can, Igris intercepts the strike, giving Jinwoo an opening, drives his blade into one of Baron's hands while Igris stabs the other, and his shadow army moves in, pinning Baron down. Baron roars and fires off another lightning breath, wiping out most of Jinwoo's army in an instant. Jinwoo feels that his mana is completely drained. Baron summons his blades, and the two clash at insane speeds. Blow after blow, Baron starts overpowering him and finally manages to knock his weapon away. He goes for the kill, but Jinwoo grabs his hands, holding him back. Baron tries to end it with another lightning breath, but before he can, Essel hurls her blade at him, forcing him to flinch. In an instant, Jinwoo activates Ruler's Hand, using his full strength to tear Baron's arms straight off. Baron tries to let out another lightning breath, But Jinwoo doesn't give him the chance. With one brutal uppercut, he sends Baron's head flying off his shoulders, ending him for good. Jinwoo absorbs his soul, completing his soul collection quest. He turns to Essel and tells her to let her father know the Raideru family is taking the top spot in this tower from now on. Jinwoo finally gets his hands on the purified blood of the demon monarch, the last thing he needs to make the elixir of life. Before he starts, he checks how successful the elixir's creation will be. Turns out, the outcome depends on the intelligence level of the player. He hesitates for a moment, then moves forward with it. Once it's done, he sees he's got 6 bottles of elixir of life. To get the full effect, a whole bottle has to be consumed in one go. He wonders if this will be enough to cure his mother. That's when Iron shows up, dragging in the corpse of the dragon. Jinwoo gives him a nod of approval before extracting the dragon's shadow. He decides to name it Kaiser, since even the dragon had forgotten its own name. Essel, seeing this, figures they can ride it back to her home in no time. She even talks about throwing a party when they get back. But Jinwoo completely tunes her out. Right now, all that matters is testing the elixir of life. He remembers there should be a rune stone in his rewards. He digs through them, finds the stone, then crushes it in his hand. A rush of energy flows through him, granting him a new ability, Shadow Exchange. Now he can switch places with one of his shadow soldiers. But there's a catch. After using it, he has to wait 3 hours before he can use it again. Jinwoo sees the potential right away. He tells Isel to head home by herself. She asks if he's skipping the party, but he doesn't have time to waste on detours. Instead, he swaps places with one of his shadows near his house. Then, without missing a beat, he summons Kaiser and rides the rest of the way. Meanwhile, Jin Chul and Gun-hee are locked in discussion, going over their plan. Gun-hee lays it out they're going to use hunter magic power as bait to lure out the ants. Once they do, special interference waves will mess with the ants' sensory communication, giving their forces a window to storm the nest and take down the queen. Jin Chul brings up the biggest risk: what if the interference waves don't work? Gun-hee shares the same concern, but based on their research, everything should go as planned. Even if things go sideways, they have a retreat strategy in place. Right now, all they need to focus on is getting the hunters ready to deploy. Gun-hee then shifts gears, asking if Jinchul has managed to get in touch with Jinwoo. Jinchul admits he's tried, but so far no response. The scene shifts to Yoon-ho sitting with Byung-gu over drinks. Byung-gu cracks a joke, but it's so bad Yoon-ho doesn't even react. Yoon-ho explains that Byung-gu is an S-rank healer who retired young, one of the rare hunters who managed to leave the game with all his limbs still attached. He's also his best friend, though still as eccentric as ever. Byung-gu leans in, asking if Yoon-ho is really heading back to that island, and without hesitation Yoon-ho confirms it. Byung-gu brings up Yoon-seok's death, reminding him what happened last time, but Yoon-ho's expression hardens. That's exactly why he has to go. If they let those ants run loose, they'll turn the entire country into their nest. Byung-gu raises an eyebrow, surprised to hear him talk this way, but Yoon-ho isn't looking for approval. He's going no matter what. Byung-gu sighs, saying he sounds just like Yoon-seok, then makes it clear that he's not going back to that place, not ever. And if Yoon-ho came to drag him along, he's wasting his time. Yoon-ho shakes his head. He didn't come to recruit him, he came to say goodbye, because there's a chance he won't be coming back. Byung-gu watches him for a moment before nodding. He understands, then casually mentions he's planning to take the civil service exam, leaving the battlefield behind for good. The exam's going to be tough since the only subject he's good at is history, thanks to all the historical dramas he's watched. He's aiming for a normal life, far away from the blood and chaos, and Yoon-ho thinks that's good. Hunters aren't normal, and most don't even hate fighting magic beasts. Some even enjoy it, and he wonders if that thrill, that craving for battle, is part of what it takes to awaken. The scene cuts to Jinwoo sitting quietly by his mother's bedside, his eyes landing on the burn mark on her neck. A memory flashes in his mind of when he was little and accidentally spilled hot water on her, yet she hadn't even flinched. Now he takes out the elixir of life, staring at it, unsure if it will really work. But the system has never let him down before. Slowly he lifts his mother upright, his hands trembling as he brings the bottle to her lips. He hesitates until the last second before tilting it forward, making her drink. Once the elixir is gone, he carefully lays her back down, and almost instantly, the effect kicks in. The burn mark fades, her body growing stronger before his eyes. Jinwoo watches in silence, hoping this is the moment he's been fighting for. In another place, Jinna sits with a book in hand, but her mind wanders, so she leaves to clear her head on a quiet walk. At the hospital under the gentle glow of the moon, Jin-woo notices his mother is awake, and in that tender moment she welcomes him while asking about the long sleep that kept her away for 4 years. She wonders about Jinna, and he reassures her that she is doing well, grateful for his promise and impressed by how much he has grown. She also sees the wounds on his body and realizes he has been pushing himself too hard. He breaks down in tears, but insists he is okay despite the pain he has endured. The next day, the doctor responsible for his mother reports to the head doctor that one of the patients with eternal sleep disease has just awakened with no signs of abnormalities. With the family demanding an immediate discharge, the scene shifts back to Jin-woo's mother's room where Jinna is overwhelmed with emotion as she weeps at the sight of her revived mother. Embracing her tightly, she cries like a child while apologizing for the worry she has caused, and Jin-woo silently feels that every sacrifice has been worth it. Elsewhere, Gun-hee stands before a crowd at a press conference, addressing the national crisis triggered by the mysterious winged ants from Jeju Island. He outlines the Hunter Association's bold plan to launch a 4th raid on Jeju Island that will bring in tennis rank hunters from Japan alongside their own top domestic S-rank hunters, while hunters of rank A and below handle maritime surveillance and homeland defense. He makes it clear that success is the only option this time around. Watching the conference, Byung-gu recalls a tense moment before the 3rd raid on Jeju Island when he, Yin-seok, and Yoon-ho had gathered in uncertainty. Back then, a drunken Yoon-ho had fallen asleep and both Yin-seok and Byung-gu had felt an overwhelming fear. Yin-seok had realized that those unable to fight were even more terrified and decided then that they would stand up to that fear together. He had stressed the importance of watching over Yoon-ho during the raid because of his impulsive nature, knowing that only the two of them could truly keep him safe. The scene shifts to Jin-woo and his family step into their apartment, and right away, their mother sees the mess. She looks around, shaking her head, but doesn't say much. Jin-woo glances at his sister, asks what she's been doing while he was gone, but their mother waves it off, saying they should all start cleaning together. They get to work, scrubbing, dusting, making the place livable again. Jin-woo moves with purpose, but inside something doesn't sit right. He's done all this, fought through hell, just for moments like these, but there's this weight in his chest, this nagging feeling that he might have stepped past a line a hunter should never cross. As they clean, their mother suddenly asks if their father has reached out in the past 4 years. Silence, no one answers. She doesn't push, shifts gears, instead mentions that she heard the news Jin-woo's a hunter now. She starts reminiscing, tells them their father used to be a firefighter before he became a hunter. That's what drew her to him, the way he looked saving lives. Says Jin-woo has the same fire in him. Jinna chimes in, says she's trying to be a doctor for the same reason. Their mother smiles, says she's got their father's spirit too. Then Jin-woo's phone rings. The scene then shifts to the Hunter Association. Gun-hee steps away from a conference, deep in thought. He didn't expect that guy to show up right after the meeting, but here they are. Turns out they're talking about Thomas Andre, the powerhouse S-rank hunter from the States. Jinchul isn't too surprised, figures it makes sense given the timing, but Gun-hee isn't convinced. A man with that level of power doesn't move without a reason. Jinchul wonders why Thomas is even getting involved. Gun-hee thinks maybe he's here to throw some weight around about Hunter H. Wang, maybe confirm something for himself. He asks if Jin-woo is still unreachable, but Jinchul says they already contacted him, he should be on his way. Then, Jin-woo arrives at the association. He gets briefed 4 days until the Jeju Island raid. Gun-hee asks if he's in. Jin-woo hesitates. It's a perfect chance to level up. Jeju practically a goldmine for experience, but deep down he's hit his mark. There's no real reason to keep fighting. He's about to turn them down, then suddenly it hits an overwhelming surge of magic, so strong it makes his skin prickle. Gun-hee catches his reaction, smirks. The S-rank hunters are warming up in the gym. If Jin-woo's curious, he's welcome to take a look. After that, Jin-woo watches as Yoon-ho faces off against his opponent in the training hall, moving swiftly, but something feels off. The other fighter takes him down and smirks, telling him to focus on his lower body. Yoon-ho doesn't hesitate, getting back on his feet, ready to go again. Jin-woo is surprised. He didn't expect Yoon-ho to be struggling like this. Choi steps beside him, casually explaining that if Yoon-ho used his full strength, Hunter Ma Dongwook wouldn't stand a chance. He introduces the fighter as Dongwook from the famed guild, and Jin-woo wonders why Yoon-ho isn't fighting seriously when his opponent clearly seems capable of handling it. Choi smirks, revealing that Yoon-ho avoids using his true power in front of too many people because when he fights at full strength, he becomes something monstrous. That lines up with the rumors about him being a transformation-type hunter. Before Jinwoo can think about it more, the atmosphere shifts as the Japanese hunters arrive. One of them notices him in the stands and asks who he is, and Hankawa, standing beside Goto, immediately responds, stating that he's Jinwoo, the newly ranked S-rank hunter. Goto studies him and comments that he has the air of an assassin, but Hankawa corrects him, explaining that Jinwoo is a mage. Meanwhile, Yunho and Dongwook continue fighting, and Hankawa watches with a bored expression, unimpressed by their performance. She mutters that these hunters don't even look like S-rankers, wondering if she only feels that way because she's used to seeing Goto dominate. Goto, however, tells her it's too early to make assumptions. Park Jang-soo from the Knights Guild overhears their conversation. He doesn't understand Japanese, but the dismissive tone is enough for him to catch their meaning. Hankawa then remarks that she has never even heard of Jang-soo before, and her group casually explains that it makes sense since he's only in a rank, not an S rank. Still, the Knights Guild is one of Korea's top 5. Cha-hee and Lim try to stop things from escalating, but Jang-soo isn't one to let an insult pass. The air grows tense as both sides measure each other up. Goto, sensing an opportunity, proposes a friendly spar to see the difference in strength between Korean and Japanese hunters. He states that only S-rank hunters will participate, and the rules can be decided. Gun-hee agrees but states that mages won't be included, as their power is harder to measure in direct combat. He also rules out non-combat type hunters. Yunho sets the rules: being grabbed by the wrist, touched on the back, or knocked to the floor will count as a loss. It won't be a simple one-on-one fight. It will be a battle royale, designed to reflect the chaos they'll face on Jeju Island. Goto accepts the terms, and the match is confirmed. The Korean team consists of Lim, Cha-hee, Dongwook, and Yunho, while Japan is represented by Kumamoto, Tawada, Tanaka, and Hoshino. With everything decided, both sides prepare as the tension in the room continues to build. Meanwhile, Jinwoo eyes the rival crew in the ring and notices that the head of the Japanese team isn't even stepping into the brawl, which ends up letting him see an all-out showdown between S-rank hunters. Dongwook activates his ability to triple his size, signaling that the real showdown is about to start. As the battle unfolds, Yunho chases down an opponent trying to flank his teammates, while the association's giant goes head-to-head with a Japanese bruiser in a fierce exchange of powerful punches. On another front, Lim finds himself up against a lightning-fast adversary who maintains his distance until a brutal kick lands on his temple, especially since Lim's strategy revolves around long-range attacks. Seizing a brief opening, Lim fires off his projectiles and nearly hits Kenzo, forcing Hoshino to take the guy down before the situation escalates further. Observing the chaos, Choi asks the president about the arena's high-quality magic gems, and Gun-hee confirms they are top-notch even if an upgrade might be needed since these fighters are wrecking the area. In hot pursuit of his rival, Yunho muses that these hunters represent the cream of the crop among Japanese's ranks, meaning the association is in for some serious heavy lifting if they plan to win. Yunho transforming into his monstrous form, he unleashes a ferocious assault even though Kumamoto always seems to slip away. As the fight wears on, Yunho figures that Kumamoto isn't built for direct brawls, a fact Kumamoto himself acknowledges given his narrow escapes and clear mismatch for this kind of battle. Glancing at Goto Ruji, Yunho imagines him testing his crew to see if they are ready for the real deal. Once that trial is set, Yunho shifts into an even more advanced form, proud to deliver the kind of response the sword wielder's master is after. With Kumamoto on the run and desperately trying to evade capture, Yunho's speed proves too overwhelming. At the same moment, from the sidelines, Park Jang-soo analyzes the intensity of the fight and recognizes that in a ring like this, his chances are slim even though his loyal subordinate claims otherwise. In an added twist, Kenzo has already taken out Dongwook, and as Hoshino pins Lim to end their duel, it becomes clear that Yunho holds the upper hand in his bout, even if the elusive Kumamoto continues to dodge every strike. In the end, the winners of the duels rally together to back up Kumamoto and stand in front of Yunho. At the same time, Cha-hee keeps her opponent in check with a rapid series of strikes. After landing a hit on the Japanese fighter, she races off to support Yunho. During her sprint, Kumamoto unexpectedly appears from behind, but she reacts with astonishing speed, striking Kumamoto's face and wounding him. Furious, Kumamoto's rage reaches its peak. Outside the ring, his companions remark that no one really knows what might unfold once he hits this level. Hankawa suggests pulling Kumamoto from the fight, yet Goto worries that such a move could upset some of the hunters. Soon enough, Kumamoto remains in the fray and launches a fierce assault on Cha-hee with intensity that few could have imagined. With a devastating punch, he shatters the ground and uses the rising smoke as cover to catch her off guard. In response, Jinwoo intervenes to break up the dangerous encounter, making it clear that this battle has long surpassed any friendly sparring. Unwilling to back down, Kumamoto continues his rampage and then turns his fury on Jinwoo, who effortlessly knocks him down and restrains him. Impressed by the young fighter's abilities, Goto Ryuji decides he must personally verify whether Jinwoo is truly just a mage. Once the Japanese fighters are under control, Jinwoo asks Cha-hee if she sees any problem in admitting defeat, given that Yoon-ho has already surrendered, and she acknowledges her loss. Concurrently, Yoon-ho reflects with regret that he would never have prevailed against those two, even if he had given his all. Shortly after, Hankawa approaches Jinwoo with word that his master Goto wishes to challenge him. Jinwoo notes the man's fierce fighting spirit and considers it an excellent opportunity to test the strength he gained in the Demon Castle. At that moment, Goto grows irritated upon realizing that Jinwoo couldn't hide his excitement at the prospect of facing him. Hankawa confirms that Jinwoo has accepted the duel on one condition: Goto must fight without holding back. Elsewhere, a TV news report announces that the fourth raid on Jeju Island is imminent. Observing that Joo-hee Lee is fixated on the news, a woman comments that she should be working, yet Lee replies that she's off today. Nonetheless, the woman insists that the hunters remain focused on the raid and not be idle. After wrapping up their conversation, Joo-hee Lee steps onto the balcony to make a call about the defense forces for the Jeju Island expedition. Back in the training room, Lim Tae-jae wonders what comes next, while Dong-wook reveals that the renowned 10th rank fighter is set to face Goto Ryuji. Cha-hee reflects that she's seen Jinwoo battle in an A-ranked dungeon, yet she isn't convinced he's ready for this level of challenge. Yoon-ho asks if the woman feels uneasy being surrounded by hunters, and she replies that on the battlefield, you can't keep your pride intact at all times. In fact, she suggests that stopping those two might be the better move, and Yoon-ho agrees even though he usually prefers a bout between a fighter and a caster. Now he finds himself thinking the same as his partner. After all, the stakes are high. If his suspicion is right and Jinwoo is an awakened who can keep growing stronger, no one knows what might unfold. With that said, Jinwoo announces he's ready for the fight, prompting Goto to nearly land a punch on his rival's face as Jinwoo dodges just in time, sarcastically remarking that he didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence. Feeling the aura radiating from the young fighter, the Japanese master begins to doubt that Jinwoo is merely a mage. Either way, it's time to uncover who Jinwoo really is. Determined, Goto charges with all his speed, and Jinwoo admits that he is clearly a cut above the other S ranks, though his reactions aren't quite fast enough to secure a hit. Irritated by the smirk on his opponent's face, then he intensifies his assault. Lim confesses that he can barely keep track of the action, while Dong-wook points out that the kid must be exceptionally resilient to dodge those punches. Yet, Cha-hee notices that Jinwoo isn't simply evading blows, he's also testing his opponent's strength. After a rapid series of exchanges, Goto sees his rival creating distance and dislikes how at ease he seems, so he shifts tactics. Goto then summons a skill that envelops his fist in flames and, with even greater speed than before, slashes at Jinwoo's face, followed by a blow that leaves Cha-hee fearing for his life. When the dust finally settles, Jinwoo blocks the attack and even teases his foe, remarking that those fiery fingers might poke his eyes out in a second. Neither fighter seems eager to wrap up the bout quickly. With that in mind, the two step back to create enough distance to amass an enormous amount of mana. Their underlings soon realize that their master is truly fighting for real. Yoon-ho worries that someone might not make it out of this clash alive, while Goto and Jinwoo have their eyes fixed solely on the duel, as both unleash powerful surges of mana and charge directly at each other. Yoon-ho and Cha-hee grab Jinwoo, and the Japanese side holds back their master to prevent the fight from spiraling out of control. Eventually, Yoon-ho directs Hankawa to tell the master to call a halt to the conflict. Once the confrontation subsides, Dong-wook jokes that Jinwoo faced the mighty Goto and ended up with nothing more than a scratch. Jinwoo reflects that although he took a risk, he now has a clear sense of everyone's strength. He even managed to slip soldiers into the shadows of 5 of them. As the Japanese guild prepares to depart, Gun-hee warns Goto that he will pass on information about the hunters involved in the raid. Left alone, the association's president sees Jinwoo approaching and asks about the Jeju Island mission. At the same time, Goto contacts a man named Ryuji and informs him about a very powerful hunter in the area. His name is Jinwoo, and he has recently undergone a reawakening that promoted him to S rank. Ryuji finds it odd that this hunter's name does not appear on the raid list, a fact that also surprises Goto. Similarly, Cha-hee tells Mr. Choi that Jinwoo is not joining them on the mission, although Choi believes Jinwoo has his own reasons and that something needs to be said. At that moment, Yunho notices that Byung-gu is also not headed on the mission. Finally, Choi concludes that the association still has 15 A-rank hunters available, which means victory is within reach. As night falls, Jinwoo returns home to find his mother and sister waiting with dinner. With a smile, he announces his return. During the meal, he reflects that his mother, who woke from a 4-year coma, needs him. For that reason, he will not be heading to Jeju Island. In the meantime, on the island, the queen ant expresses her dismay over the cannibalistic behavior of her subjects, lamenting that the lack of prey has pushed them into self-destruction. Determined to escape the island, she insists that a mightier heir must emerge to lead her kingdom. At that moment, an egg cracks open and a creature is born, mutating into a more human-like form with 2 arms and 2 legs. The queen urges her new offspring to gain strength, and in response, it emits a spine-chilling cry that sends a surreal surge of mana through the air. The following day in the city, television news warns that flying ants are rapidly evolving once mere ground dwellers during the 3rd raid on Jeju Island. They now possess humanoid features and even wings. At the same time, Yu tries to dissuade Song-yi from enlisting in the defense force because she's still classified as E-rank. Shortly after, the city's announcement system calls for hunters to help protect Korea, and Joo-hee Lee unexpectedly crosses paths with Song Chul. As dusk approaches, Gun-hee eagerly anticipates the start of the Jeju Island raid the next day. With dawn, the attack operation commences as fleets of ships near the mission area. Aboard one vessel, a Knights Guild member questions the master about their readiness to confront the ants. Park Jang-soo replies that their true capability will only be proven in battle, and they were deployed as a contingency. Nearby, the famed guild arrives by helicopter, and soon after, leader Dongwook parts ways with the vice master to head into combat. In the midst of the action, Min-sun draws considerable media attention, while Lim insists on an immediate return to avoid further complications. Later, during a briefing with the association president, Jin Chul confirms that all units are set. Gun-hee is heartened by the flood of volunteers ready to defend the nation and feels relieved that someone previously hesitant has now opted to join the offensive. Suddenly, Yunho is taken aback as he sees Byung-gu coming over, and the 2 longtime friends exchange a warm greeting. In the central city of the island, the elite squads of Bravo, Alpha, and Sword Bearers assume their strategic positions. As the hunters from the association are airlifted to their mission, they notice that the board has dispatched a crew of cameramen to broadcast the battle live. Dongwook quips about whether the cameraman is brave enough, but the man confidently explains that he's well accustomed to dangerous filming and is an A-rank professional. Yunho voices his hope that this will be the final S-rank raid on the island, worried that if not, the entire country might be at risk. Shortly after, Jin Chul informs Gun-hee that the attack team is set to move, prompting the leader to announce the commencement of the 4th raid on Jeju Island. At the same time, Goto Ryuji orders the diversionary force to give their all, unleashing a staggering surge of mana that even impresses Yunho high in the helicopter. In the chaos, ants begin spilling out from an anthill, so Choi heads to the back exit of the vehicle and bluntly eliminates the insects. However, as more ants appear every second, he quickly realizes that he'll need to intensify his efforts. Not long after clearing the immediate threat, he asks if it's time for the helicopter to land. With the craft now on the ground, Yunho is confident that the Japanese will keep the ants occupied for an hour, the crucial window the Koreans have to take down the queen. From the operations room, Ryuji orders the interference to commence, sending out a powerful signal to block the ants from receiving the queen's emergency call. Amid the unfolding battle, a rival from Chahee's simulated match warns that Kumamoto might die if he stays paralyzed for too long. One Japanese fighter questions whether it might be wiser to wipe out all the ants at once, while a colleague inquires about Kenzo's whereabouts. Off in another corner, the brute is happily smashing ants as if he were a kid having the time of his life. On another part of the island, a Japanese man spots the smoke rising from Choi's blaze and asks his partner if he really thinks he can beat that master in a duel, even though his own power is based on ice. Once Choi and his team block off the entrance to the ant nest, they press forward. Yet, the maze of tunnels makes the route confusing, and Yunho wonders aloud which direction they should take. To save time checking every opening for danger, Choi conjures a fireball, clearing the way. Now it's simply about finding the tunnel that descends the deepest. He's convinced it's one specific passage. Elsewhere, Jinwoo wraps up his daily workout and, feeling at ease, imagines that the S-rank expedition team will easily handle the ants, even without him there. As they follow the promising tunnel that Choi picked, Lim Tae-jayu speculates that the queen might have already fled, but Yunho reminds him that leaving the island isn't an option. At that instant, Choi calls his comrades over to examine an egg chamber, sparking the belief that the queen could be nearby. At the same moment, they spot a giant egg, which fills the team with apprehension as a creature begins to emerge from it. On a different note, Kenzo, injured and desperate, pleads for the healer to tend to him. Shimizu opens her mouth to ask something in return from the big guy. But before anyone can react, something snatches the girl's head off in the blink of an eye. Kenzo and another hunter on their team sense a powerful presence nearby and ready themselves for battle, but the monster quickly decapitates Kenzo and does the same to his partner. The scene then shifts to the ant nest, where hunters are fighting white ants with strength rivaling that of S-rank fighters. However, their predictable movements make them easy prey for hunters employing varied tactics, who take them out one by one. Chahi remarks that these ants have an incredibly tough exoskeleton, though Dong-wook is relieved there aren't many of them. Byung-gu adds that even if their numbers increase, he'll support them from the rear. Yoon-ho is surprised by that confident remark from someone who usually shies away from combat, and Byung-gu snaps at him to drop the sarcasm, reminding him that these ants can survive even if decapitated, so they must be crippled instead. Understanding the point, Yoon-ho cripples the ant he just defeated. Dong-wook then notes that the deeper they venture, the stronger the foes become, though they still haven't encountered any ants that walk on two legs. Choi speculates that such ants must be guarding the queen ant, and Lim T-jayu wonders if they're even on the right path, given the long journey ahead. Choi reassures him that they likely are, while Chahi concurs, mentioning that a strong scent of powerful magical beasts emanates from deep within the cave. Surprised that she can detect it from so far away, Choi suggests that Yoon-ho might use his ability to pinpoint the source. Testing it out, he manages to locate the queen. After some searching, Choi informs the group that the queen ant is in the deepest part of the cave, heavily guarded by numerous sentries. He warns that the decoys outside have their limits, and that many S-rank guards lie ahead, urging them to hurry. Though he admits the upcoming battle will be challenging due to the queen ant's unknown strength, he remains confident that their lineup will secure victory. In the meantime, another team of Japanese hunters arrives to check on Kenzo and his team since their comms couldn't reach them, and they begin searching around. One of them notices Fujishima's glasses, but before he can investigate further, his partner suddenly vomits and comments that he can smell something terrifying coming their way. He admits he's never encountered such a scent before and channels his ice magic in the direction of the odor. On another front, Kumamoto and Tawada also fail to reach Kenzo's team, so they decide to focus solely on the battle unfolding before them. At the ant nest, the hunters have advanced into the queen ant's chamber, and they're fired up to see such a massive force assemble as a welcome. Byung-gu ramps up everyone's energy with his skills, and the fight kicks off in earnest. Choi methodically wipes out the ants using his fire magic, explaining that he doesn't normally resort to such heavy magic, but he's making an exception this time. Yoon-ho decides to go all out, completely transforming into a white tiger and launching himself at the ants, killing them with his bare hands. Chahi stands in awe of his beast mode, while a news reporter accompanying them receives word that their live viewership has surpassed 70%. The reporter is urged to get closer for clear footage, but Byung-gu quickly stops him, reminding him that this is an S-rank raid and he must stay back. Soon, the raid is broadcast across the mainland, and expectations for the hunters are extremely high. Lim takes out a sizable number of ants with his arrows, and Choi continues to fry them with his fire magic, while Yoon-ho rips them apart with his claws. Chahi also slices through a bunch, and soon everyone across the country can witness this intense battle. After the hunters manage to eliminate the last ant guard, they shift their focus to the grimy queen ant. The queen launches an attack on Dong-wook, but he manages to block her strike with his shield. While Lim fires several arrows at her, Yoon-ho joins in on the assault, remarking that a queen stripped of her guards is merely an easy target. Suddenly, the queen retaliates by unleashing her poison breath on both Dong-wook and Yoon-ho, but Byung-gu promptly heals them. He tells them that as long as he's around, he will ensure they get back on their feet no matter how many times they fall. The queen then attempts to target the healer, but Dong-wook again blocks her attack, while Choi continues to rain down fire magic on her. Even so, the queen still stands and lets out a piercing scream that echoes across the island. She tries to flee, but the hunters block her path, and Choi lunges in to attack her. Yoon-ho and Dong-wook hold her down while Chahi slashes with her sword, severing her legs and forcing her to collapse. Then, using her special skill, she decapitates the queen, ending her reign. Across the country, cheers erupt as the victory is celebrated, and Gun-hee is thrilled that the raid mission finally succeeded. He's confident that with the queen ant dead, The rest will vanish within a year, transforming the area into a livable zone for humans once again. Back at the nest, Yoon-ho still frets over the queen's final scream, but Byung-gu tells him to relax, reminding him they've defeated her and avenged Yoon-seok. In the meantime, a ship emitting interference waves reports to Goto that all the ants are returning to the nest. Goto orders them to gather intel and report back, and Choi notices that the barrier he set up around the nest has been breached. Lim remarks that this happened faster than expected, and they wonder if the queen's scream was a call for reinforcements. Chahi argues that even if it was, the ants outside shouldn't be able to break Choi's barrier. Suddenly, they sense something formidable approaching. They soon spot the ant king that hatched from the giant egg, and its overwhelming aura makes Chahi feel sick. Realizing it isn't an ordinary magic beast, Dong-wook concludes that they'll have to kill it even though he's rendered helpless as it casually walks by. Then, the Ant King devours the Ant Queen and turns its wrath on the hunters. It sends Chahi flying with a single blow, and when Dong-wook transforms into a giant to fight it, the creature rips off one of his arms along with his shield. Despite that, Dong-wook still tries to fight it, and the Ant King slices off his other arm as well. Yoon-ho also attempts to engage in the battle, but the beast quickly takes him down too, and it does the same to Choi. Lin fires an arrow at the creature, yet it snatches the projectile and counterattacks him fiercely. When it seems about to finish him off, Dong-wook intervenes, and we notice that he has been healed by Byung-gu. We then learn that Byung-gu has gone into hiding using his camouflage skill, which renders him completely invisible once activated. This ability, however, leaves him immobile, a trade-off he accepts as a healer. He assures the team that as long as he is around, they will not lose. In the meantime, the Ant King battles Dong-wook relentlessly, slamming him around like a ragdoll. Then, despite his invisibility, the creature detects Byung-gu and stabs him in the chest before he can react. With his final breath, Byung-gu orders Yoon-ho to run away, and the Ant King viciously bites off his head. Yoon-ho tries to fight back after this, but the beast hurls Byung-gu's remains at him and seizes him by the neck, forcing him to revert back into human form. It then repeats Byung-gu's dying command, ordering Yoon-ho to flee, and from that single phrase it appears to have learned human language, declaring that they are too weak. It states that their queen is dead and that simply killing soldiers will not make up for their loss. Furthermore, it demands to know where their king is, sensing someone strong outside, then leaves the nest abruptly to seek the human king. Yoon-ho wonders if it meant Goto Ruji, but he quickly realizes there is no time to debate this, they must evacuate immediately. He then notices that more ants have returned, and outside, Goto's team discovers that 2 of their squads are now unreachable. Goto speculates that it might be due to poor reception, although that seems unlikely given their communication range, so he contacts Tawada's team to see if they can reach the missing squads. Tawada replies that they cannot and asks if Goto wants them to check on them. Goto states there is no need, as he is already on his way to investigate, and instructs them to wait at the designated rendezvous point once they are done. Finally, Goto and his team arrive at the location of the unreachable squads, only to find that they are dead. Just then, someone from their home country contacts them, asking why they didn't reach out when scheduled. Goto explains that they've suffered casualties, and the caller asks if he hadn't ordered them to only target mutated beasts to minimize risk. Goto replies they were simply too weak, and the caller expected him to say so. He remarks that losing a few isn't critical given their capabilities, then asks if the Korean team is still with the Queen Ant. Goto confirms they are, adding that they recently found the interference wave isn't working and that all the ants outside have returned to the nest. The caller then wonders what their survival chances are, and Goto states it's 0% considering their strength. The man orders a temporary retreat, instructing them to advance later with a second assault team from the sea. He explains that they will pretend the Korean hunters died, even though they did their best to gradually weaken the neighboring country's power, paving the way for Japan to conquer the S-rank gate. Goto then informs his team that the chairman has ordered them to retreat and regroup. Before they can do so, the Ant King attacks, taking out the girl in their group. Goto commands Hoshino to retreat immediately and join up with the second team along with Kumamoto's group. Though Hoshino is hesitant, Goto insists his presence only hinders progress, so Hoshino departs. The Ant King then reveals itself, radiating a potent aura, and asks if Goto is the king. Surprised to hear it speak, Goto confirms he is. The Ant King surrounds him with power, and Goto notices a familiar feeling reminiscent of Jinwoo. At the same time, at the ant nest, the hunters are barely holding on against the onslaught. They've suffered fatal injuries and have little strength left. Convinced that it's the end as the ants charge for a final assault, They are stunned when Jinwoo's soldiers emerge from the shadows to hold back the attackers. In that moment, Jinwoo swaps positions with one of his men, declaring it's time to hunt. At the same time, part of the swarm of flying insects descends, but the specters hold them off using their top-tier fighters Tusk, Iron, and Igris, who deploy their exceptional skills to keep every foe at bay. Concurrently, Yoon-ho watches in amazement as Jinwoo steps up to join the front line formed by the Shadow Soldiers. Just like Yoon-ho, everyone in the association wonders how Jinwoo managed to get there. Elsewhere, Joo-hee finds herself without signal beside Cheol-song, leaving them to question what's really going on at the heart of the Jeju Island storm. At the same time, Jinchul informs Gun-hee that attempting contact is futile amid the chaos, but Gun-hee insists that any information on the hunters' whereabouts must be collected by any means necessary. Over at the broadcasting station, the director is bombarded with demands to restore the fight's transmission. He would have done so if possible, but for now it remains out of reach. Moreover, his superior worries about what will happen to the country if all the S-rank hunters are wiped out. The director attempts to contact the lucky cameraman, yet the employee's equipment is non-functional. In the midst of the turmoil, Jinwoo shouts out Iron's name, prompting him to activate his taunt ability to keep the enemy's focus on him. Then, Jinwoo releases Igris to sweep across the battlefield and cut down as many insects as possible, while Iron and Tusk join the counterattack, demonstrating the true meaning of devastation in the mutant nest. At that point, the hunters are completely baffled, unsure what these shadowy figures are or how Jinwoo ended up there. Eventually, Jinwoo finds time to rescue several of the hunters, and Yoon-ho seizes the opportunity to ask a burning question. But Jinwoo postpones the discussion until later when there's time to tend to the allies' wounds. With that, he holds up a potion and instructs the first companion to drink, only to recall that he cannot simply transfer the item. Dong-wook wonders if it might be some kind of medicine or summoning spell until Jinwoo orders everyone to ingest the cure. Soon enough, nearly everyone drinks the potion and is fully healed. Cha-hee is the last to get her dose, but the healing item doesn't kick in because her health is too low, just like the time when Jinwoo himself went through that mess. Worse still, her aura is fading fast, meaning the only option is to clear a path so they can haul her out pronto. Over on the other side of the trench, escape isn't easy since more and more insects clump at every passage, cutting down any chance of a smooth getaway. At the same time, Gun-hee joins a meeting with his associates to get the lowdown on the attack team's situation, but all communications from the island have been cut, leaving everyone clueless about what's happening. Frustrated, Gun-hee orders that the signal be restored by any means necessary and demands that medical and rescue teams be on high alert, ready to jump in at a moment's notice. Sitting in his chair, Gun-hee feels a burning rage at how much he's aged, wishing he could be out there fighting alongside his comrades, even though he knows he might not be much help now. All he can do is hope that everyone is doing okay. At Jinwoo's place, his sister Jinna resorts to a rough trick to get the TV working again. She literally whacks it. Still, she doesn't give up on finding a way to watch the raid. At the same time, someone informs the president of Japan that Goto Ruji's vital signs vanished from the last transmission before the signal went down, implying that Goto Ruji may be dead. Confronted with this tragedy, the leader Matsumoto demands updates on the rest of the guild members, warning that any further loss will derail the next stage of their plan. After hanging up, Matsumoto is livid and calls Goto utterly useless for dying. Back at the insect nest, Iron demolishes hundreds of foes with his sheer strength. Jinwoo observes that his elite units are holding their own in the fight, while the regular shadow soldiers are clearly outmatched. Jinwoo'd love to beef up his ranks, but too many eyes are on them. Thinking fast, he orders his companions to stick behind Tusk and guard the rear in case any ant slips through. Above all, the young mage urges everyone to keep secret what's about to go down. The hunters sense something extraordinary is coming, and soon Jinwoo's eyes start glowing oddly until, all of a sudden, the insects part to reveal a clear path. King of Ants Baru shows up with dark red energy swirling around him, looking real menacing. Enraged, he radiates an obscene amount of mana while lamenting that the human king wasn't around. Jinwoo figures this monster must be behind him, no longer sensing the shadow he sent with Goto. So he steps forward and stakes out a prime position, making the Ant King wonder if it truly is the king of humans. With a wry laugh, Jinwoo remarks that he's chatting with a talking bug, while the monster registers the formidable aura of its opponent. Its surreal scream sends every hunter into a panic except Jinwoo, who shrugs and treats the foe like just another critter. In the midst of their exchange, the cameraman for the fight's broadcast picks up the signal and alerts headquarters. Immediately, the director orders the transmission resumed. but he's warned that going live without delay means there'll be no time to cover up if something goes awry. Despite that, the director refuses to lose another second of viewership and commands everything be restored, since the fate of the country hinges on the man standing before this insect and the people need to see what's happening. Once the images are back on air, Chiul and Juhi along with the Knights Guild, support teams, and the entire population tune in to watch the events unfolding inside the mutant insect nest on Jeju Island. Jinwoo had promised he'd be right back and left home, but Jinna notices he seems to be way too far away. Gunhee celebrates Jinwoo's arrival at this critical juncture, and no matter how he got to the island, everyone is pinning their hopes on him. As all eyes in the world turn to Jinwoo, the duel's start isn't smooth. Out of the blue, Jinwoo slams a punch that shakes the very ground beneath him. Yoonho and Choi reckon Jinwoo underestimated his opponent by getting too close for a mage, and even Ant King Baru begins to doubt whether Jinwoo is the true king. But Jinwoo bounces back without serious injuries, then punishes his rival by wrapping him in a bluish aura before delivering a devastating blow. Dongwook questions if this guy is really a mage, yet by this point Yoonho and Choi are left speechless. The Ant King withstands the hit masterfully, leaving Jinwoo to wonder if its tough exoskeleton is the source of all that resistance. The moment Ant King jumps back into the brawl, Jinwoo doesn't flinch. He pushes forward, keeping the pressure high, and the bug doesn't back down either as it turns the fight into a brutal slugfest. Even the A-rank cameraman can barely keep it together from the shockwaves. At first, the Ant King thought it was untouchable, but every move Jinwoo throws is on a whole different level. This ain't your regular hunter, and for the first time, the Ant King is spooked. Then Jinwoo lands a crushing punch right across its face. Ant King stumbles but flashes a twisted grin. Its long, venomous tongue shoots out and slices Jinwoo's cheek wide open. Suddenly Jinwoo freezes mid-motion, his body locking up as panic creeps in. Jinwoo mutters, "What the hell is this?" But the Ant King laughs and spits the answer. That tongue is laced with a cocktail of toxins from ocean creatures, supercharged with magic. Jinwoo's body starts shutting down fast, and Ant King knows this is its shot to end him. While Jinwoo struggles for control, across the sea, Japan's President Matsumoto gets the bad news: 7 out of 10 Japanese hunters on Jeju are dead. The man flips out, screaming about disgrace, failure, and how Goto's loss shattered their pride. Then more news hits. Something nasty was spotted near the island's volcano, something that might be what killed Goto. They don't know if it's limping back to hide or coming to wreak more havoc. Matsumoto smells an opportunity in the mess. He figures that if any Korean hunters are still alive, they're probably tangled up with that beast, which means they're weak and Japan can swoop in and take control. So he orders the remaining Japanese hunters pulled out and sent to regroup with a backup squad waiting offshore. One of the surviving hunters gets the message. They've been shifted to Plan 9. Hoshino, the one who witnessed Goto's death, starts freaking out. He grabs his teammate and warns her that whatever they're facing is not something they can kill, and she shakes him to snap him out of it. But he's clearly cracked. Still, she reminds him they don't have a choice because orders are orders. As a chopper heads their way, back at the nest things get wild. Jinwoo, paralyzed just seconds ago, suddenly forces his body to move. Against all odds, he pushes through and slams a punch into the Ant King's gut, hard enough to send it flying and crashing into the cave wall. Jinwoo, despite being poisoned, keeps moving and Choi wonders how on earth he managed it. Yoonho shrugs, saying nothing from Jinwoo ever surprises him anymore. Jinwoo figures the insect was holding back because it had a secret weapon, while his own body recovered thanks to his detox ability. Looking over at Chahi, he realizes the same applies to her. He needs to get her out of harm's way as soon as possible. So Jinwoo charges at the Ant King with a kick, but Ant King easily dodges his attack. Finding that his venom has no effect, the creature switches tactics by provoking a reaction within itself and mysteriously boosting its own power. Unfazed by the change, Jinwoo draws his pair of demonic monarch daggers. Then the duel explodes into a level of brutality never seen before. The speed and ferocity of the fight ramp up threefold, with both sides betting everything on the need to win. Jinwoo is desperate to save Chahi in time, and the Ant King is equally determined to prove it is the true ruler among humans. Employing tactics beyond imagination, the Ant King summons razor-sharp ice spears from the ground and hurls them at Jinwoo as deadly projectiles. Although Jinwoo manages to dodge most of them, the force of the ice crashing against the ceiling causes part of the structure to collapse, intensifying the danger of the combat. Inevitably, the Ant King realizes that the human's speed matches its own, and, even more disturbingly, that Jinwoo seems to get faster with every passing minute. When their auras collide in a dazzling display of raw power, The chaotic spectacle sends a frenzied spark through Yunho's eyes, who confesses that he has never witnessed such an insane showdown in all his long years as an S-rank hunter. As the seconds fly by like lightning, the moves become a blur, as if choreographed by pure instinct. Jinwoo roars in anger as he lands a crushing strike on the enemy, but the insect rebounds with an agility that seems almost absurd. In that split second, Jinwoo sees the Ant King's claws lurching toward his eyes like a quartet of knives. In the midst of the chaos, his fatal strike skill suddenly evolves to a mutilation level, an unexpected upgrade forged by relentless force training. This spontaneous boost gives him the power to retaliate, and he counterattacks with his infernal daggers, slicing off large chunks of the Ant King's arm. Seizing the momentum, Jinwoo opts for further devastation, tearing off more parts from his opponent in a display of brutal precision. To counter that, the Ant King regenerates its body and quickly builds an ice wall to keep Jinwoo at bay. Then the creature drops its pride and bolts without a trace of cowardice. Still, that doesn't slow Jinwoo one bit. He charges in with a spinning strike from above that slams the Ant King to the ground, and he continues to mutilate it until its remains are shattered into tiny pieces. The beast is left on the floor, missing its arms and wings, all while it stares up in disbelief as if asking who this human really is. In a last desperate move, it unleashes a burst of chaotic energy that reignites the red eyes of the insects in its nest. Meanwhile, Jinwoo just smirks and orders his troops to go on the offensive against the insects. Alongside the elite soldiers already in the fray, Tank, the leader of the Ice Bears, and Kaiser, the Wyvern of Baron, join the counterattack, keeping the intensity sky high. Caught off guard, the Ant King, once convinced of its invincibility, now has no choice but to reconsider as Jinwoo's relentless assault proves too much. As the battle rages on, the creature starts to think only of fleeing, its pride in tatters. After regenerating one more time, the Ant King takes flight, but Jinwoo's mighty hand slams it back to the ground without missing a beat. Weakened and desperate, the beast scrambles away on its legs. Seizing the moment, Jinwoo unleashes his newly honed mutilation technique once more, teaching the Ant King not to run off without permission. When the flurry of attacks finally dies down, the system flashes that Jinwoo has defeated the enemy and leveled up. Stunned by the fate of the strongest among them, the other ants decide to hunker down and gather winter food instead of risking another beating. Meanwhile, Jinwoo rushes over to check on Chahi. Her aura is fading fast, and time is of the essence. Choi mentions that a rescue chopper should be waiting outside, but Jinwoo, knowing there's no time to waste, orders Chahi to drink the elixir of life, the same one that cured his mom's eternal sleep. Despite his best efforts, the potion proves ineffective, and no one knows what to do but wait for Chahi's condition to worsen. Yet something lingers in Jinwoo's mind, a spark of determination that refuses to fade. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, it makes all the difference.